Hey, what's going on now? 3 o'clock. Ayton with 30 points and 13 boards last night. Scoot, 19 points, 15 assists in last night's loss to the Pelicans. Portland has three more games this season. Warriors are in town tomorrow. Tip off at 7. Game day live from Moda at 4:30. Giannis avoided a serious Achilles injury last night in the Bucks win over the Celtics. He suffered a calf strain. John Calipari agreed to a 5-year deal starting at $7 million with Arkansas, a reduction from his pay at Kentucky. From the NFL, Josh Allen agrees to a 5-year $150 million deal with the Jaguars. The Mariners got their fifth win today, topped the Jays 6-1 in Toronto. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad is coming up next with special guest host Kevin Goy here on the Rip City Drive. Well, today is a special day here on the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. As you remember, or if you don't, back in February, we hosted an event, Chillin' for a Cause, over at the Jackson's Food Store right over here across the freeway from the station. And we had an online auction for different items that you could purchase or different experiences because we were raising money for ALS Northwest. And you know the story now. It was inspired by Mike Lynch of the Portland Trailblazers, who announced on Friday his story about how now at the age of 34 he's battling ALS. And one of those experiences was to come in and host the Rip City Drive for a day. And the guy who did that is Kevin Goy, and he's in studio with us today. What's up, Kevin?
How's it going? Thanks for having me, Chad and Dwight.
Dude, it's so cool for you to be here. So I guess first off, we'll get to what you do and some of your particulars, and we'll dive deeper into that later in the show. But I guess first off, what inspired you to jump on board and bid for the opportunity to come in and host the show?
Well, I saw that I'm a regular listener, but I saw you were raising money for ALS, and it's something that's dear to me. I used to work in the business and spent a lot of time working with the ALS nationally, and so I know how dramatic of a thing it is, and so I was very happy to support it. And you had some, cool bid items, and didn't give it a second thought.
See, this is great because at least now we know we have at least one regular listener, Godfather. I always wonder sometimes.
I like that. And really, he made the donation. He could have just said, I'm making a donation. I don't want to go on the radio with those two clowns.
Yes.
But he's here. That's nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's great to have you in here. And I got to be honest with you, it's a little bit scary when you put together a promotion like that because you never know who's going to bid and who you're going to end up being in studio with for 3 hours. My first phone call with you, I was like, wow, this guy is amazing. He is well-traveled. He's a business owner. This guy's super sharp. So I was like, thank you, Lord. We hit the jackpot.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's great. So Kevin Goy is in studio. The Godfather is here. Michael Shacker is at Master Control. And we're going to talk basketball with Dave Deckard, who's going to join us at 5:20 and give us the latest on the Trailblazers. I booked him for Kevin because Kevin is a Trailblazer fan, among other things. But we want to talk some Blazers. Dave Deckard coming up at 5:20. So, Kevin, to give people a little background, you do a lot of different things, but you've been in Portland now for 17 years. You moved out from St. Louis, Missouri, and you're a business owner. So why don't you give a little background on what businesses you have and what you do here in the Portland area?
Well, I have a few businesses right now. Work for I have a nursery business, One Green World. I have a bar and restaurant, Bar Diane, in Northwest Portland. And right next to Bar Diane, a couple years ago, I opened up Negociant, which is a cheese, wine, and cafe.
That's interesting. How does one get into the restaurant business and yet also at the same time operate a nursery? How does that work? How does that happen?
The nursery kind of came around a little bit. My brother was a longtime farmer and had been involved in farming, and so I'd always been very much interested in that business. And we took the business as a family over 7 years ago. Or so, and I joined in to help out. I was looking to be done with the business I was involved with before, and so I was looking for a change, and it was the perfect opportunity to do something new and help grow a family business, and absolutely fell in love with it.
Okay, you got a bar named Bar Diane. I think Bar Dwight would have been a better name, but why is it Bar Diane?
There's a funny story, and I missed out on a million mom points. My mom is Diana, and she asked me the same question, and she was like, you named it after me, obviously. And my response should have been absolutely, but the real reason why was coming up with a name for a bar is always difficult. And I was with my business partner, Sammy. We were out drinking. We're right on the street where Drugstore Cowboy, the movie, was filmed
Mm-hmm.
in that area. Kelly Lynch's character was Diane. And we wanted to open up a bar. Everything on that neighborhood was a dive bar, sports bar, or like a dude bar, a dark bar. And so we wanted to do something different in the neighborhood. And so, naming it after a female character that had, a story in the neighborhood, that's just where we landed. And
That's
so
awesome.
yeah.
And it's right there in Northwest Portland, right? Right there on 21st, close to Cinema 21.
right across the street from Cinema 21. Yeah, Bar Diane is down the alley, like right next to the building, kind of around the corner. So we have a private little outdoor patio on two sides. It's a quaint, cozy spot, bright colors. It's my business partner, Sammy, was an artist in the past and did, painted a mural on the wall. We get a lot of photographs.
Dude, that's cool. You know what's nice about Portland, or at least what I like about the city, is like Northwest has its own vibe. Southeast, North Portland, like no matter which part of town you're in, it's totally different from the other. But that Northwest part of town, I've been to Cinema 21. 23rd's nice. 21st is cool. Like it's got its own feel to it. Do you like that part of town?
When I moved to Portland 17 years ago, that was the neighborhood I moved into, and I fell in love with it. I just like being able to walk everywhere. I didn't have a car for a few years, and was biking everywhere, and it was just an easy neighborhood to live in. You're walking distance to 5 grocery stores, all the bars you could ever dream of, and yeah, I love it.
What's it like out here? I grew up in, just outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, very similar to St. Louis, Missouri, in terms of demographics, politics, the whole vibe. It's totally different than being out here in the Northwest. How's the
It's very different.
the shift in the scene been for you?
It was easy for me. I had, I did move out here not knowing anybody. My brother lived down in Corvallis when I first moved here, so I had him, so I had some family support. But moved
But
out
it's
here,
scary to move when you don't know anyone.
yeah, it was. But I was ready to get out of St. Louis. I miss it. I like to visit St. Louis, but it's much easier to live, to visit than to live there. So.
And the climate here, Godfather, much better here than it is in St. Louis during the summertime without the humidity and the heat and all the nonsense.
I do not miss the humidity.
He misses the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team.
That's true, and the Blues.
I grew up a Cardinal fan. That was the team that was closest in proximity. We had the Tulsa Drillers, a minor league team,
Mhm.
but we didn't have any Major League Baseball. So St. Louis was the closest team, and so I latched on to Whitey Herzog and Ozzie Smith and those great running teams from the 80s that played classic National League Baseball when I was younger. That was my team, my jive back then.
Yeah, you couldn't beat Ozzy.
He was the best, man. Opening day when he'd come out and do his little somersault flip and stuff, I thought that was money.
Yep.
Were you a big fan of those teams, Godfather?
Yeah, I was actually. I liked them. I covered that World Series where they played the Brewers.
Yeah.
And beat the Brewers. I think that one went 7 games, if I'm not mistaken, close to it, I think. They played Harvey's Wallbangers. That was the Harvey Keene managed team. And my friend Kevin Young was broadcasting Brewers games at that time with Bob Euchre.
Wow.
So that was a real fun one for me to cover.
Did you cover 85 when Dinkinger screwed the Cardinals?
No,
with
I
that
wasn't
horrible
at
call?
that one. No, that was against the Royals, I believe.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
We don't talk about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was horrible. I mean, little Chad had a hard time understanding when his team got screwed. I was like, Dad, you got to explain this to me.
Yeah.
What's up with that? That's great. Which do you prefer? I mean, you got the nursery and you got the restaurant businesses. Do you look at businesses the same, or do you have a preference for which one you like to deal with the most?
I think they're both different enough that I get to enjoy both of them for totally different reasons. This is a really fun season for the nursery business, and just because it's the busiest time, everybody's out planting. The weather's changing. I get to be outdoors. I get to it's just fun to be busy and be outdoors and deal with plants. And then in the evening, after a long day, I get to hang out at my bar and drink wine.
Is there something special that your nursery is specializing in?
Yeah, we're a pretty unique nursery. We specialize in fruiting trees and edible plants for the most part.
That's awesome.
What kind of edible plants?
If you can name a berry, we have it. But your standards: apples, pears, plums. Then we have things like sea buckthorn, hascap berries. We have all the blueberries you could ever imagine. List goes on and on.
Do you have figs?
We have currently probably 120 different fig varieties for sale.
Oh,
Dude, I love that. I've got my chiropractor has a black fig tree in his backyard. And so during the late summer, he brings them in when I go to get adjusted, and I get to feast on them. They're absolutely delicious. So you went through, what was it like? What were the challenges like going through COVID with the pandemic?
Well, we had just opened up Bar Dan in
Nice
2000,
timing.
yeah, September
great.
2019, and so things were going great. It was actually really exciting. And the energy, we were well accepted. We were listed as one of the best new bars in Portland, on Portland Monthly, getting a lot of good write-ups, and everything was great. And then I had family in Italy. When all that stuff, you're hearing rumors about what was going down, and then I think I was listening and watching the Utah basketball game when they shut it down.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, this is not good. And so for the bar, and it was a disaster. Luckily, I have an amazing business partner, had an amazing crew. We were able to keep, a few people on, and we basically turned the bar into a wine shop, and we would do some special foods, and people were ordering wine online, and we'd run it out to the curb, and they'd pick it up. And then for the nursery, when COVID hit, everybody became a backyard gardener. So I had a completely different problem to try to solve, which was a good problem, was that we almost doubled our business. And so it was trying to find staff, keep on staff, like keep everybody healthy, try to find new people in the middle of a pandemic and, operate 7 days a week.
Now that you've made it through that, do you feel better equipped as a business owner after dealing with something that was so extreme?
It would be hard to think of, any other crazy scenarios than what we went through. So I absolutely feel like, it made the team that I have stronger. And so I know we could get through anything.
That's terrific. That's great. Kevin Goy, who is the winning bidder of our opportunity to come in and host the Rip City Drive with us, is in studio, and he's going to be with us the entire day. You got a fascinating story, man. I love hearing that. I'm amazed by entrepreneurs because there's a certain spirit that entrepreneurs have to be able to go out there and risk everything to pursue a dream or a passion. And I respect that because I don't have that. That's not in me. So when I see people like you, I'm like, wow, it's impressive.
I appreciate that.
And it provides him an opportunity to listen to us all the time because you're in your car most of the time. Where is the nursery?
The nursery is 134th and Foster. So, yeah, I get to listen to a lot of radio, commuting between my businesses, which are in opposite ends of town.
I've always thought that if I wasn't doing radio, I'd like to have a job where I'm driving or in a position where I can listen to the radio all the time. Talk radio is the best for being able to pass time.
It is.
That's
I
great.
Grew up KMOX listening to Cardinal baseball back in the day. I think that's why you were a Cardinals fan in Tulsa.
Yeah.
Jack Buck.
Yeah,
Yep.
Jack Buck. KMX was like a blowtorch, man. You could pick it up anywhere at night. It was awesome. So what are your specialties at Bar Diane?
So Bar Diane, we specialize in natural wine, which is just a fancy name for wine, smaller production wine without a lot of additives, fresher wine, easy drinking wine. And then we keep a pretty rotating seasonal menu of. We have an amazing chef and an amazing team of cooks in the back that just are constantly pumping out new, delicious, fresh seasonal foods. We always have a pasta on the menu. We always have a meat. We have a steak set currently. We have always a fish set, lots of different snacks, small plates, complement wine. And we also have an amazing bar program too. I wanted to be able to, as much as I love wine, there's some days after a long day, need something a little stronger. So we have a really nice cocktail list as well.
That's great. I've got a friend who lives out in Sherwood who produces small batches of natural wine. And it's neat when he gives me a bottle because my dad's always like, hey, your friend, is he going to be making more wine? Because he wants me to bring it to him. But you can see the natural, the pieces of the fruit in it and stuff.
Yeah, sometimes unfined and unfiltered is a common. You'll see that and often know that it's a natural wine.
All right, Kevin Goy is in studio. It's his show today. When we come back, we're going to dig into a little bit of baseball. More shenanigans for Shohei Ohtani, Godfather.
Yes. We're learning more about Shohei all the time.
This is surprising when you consider the Dodgers, who I would put up there among the best in all of sports when it comes to the fan experience and customer service.
Relations. Yeah, they're great.
The Dodger Stadium's always been a top-notch experience. This one's a bit surprising. So we'll dig into this next. Kevin Goy is in studio. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, today is the Kevin Goy Day here on the Rip City Drive, as he is the host of the show. And when you're the host, you get to pick music. Who is this right here?
This is LCD Sound System.
Turn his mic on.
This is LCD Sound System.
Nice. It's your day, man. You can
Oh.
have whatever you want, Kevin. It's your
No, this
world.
is yeah. You asked what music I would pick, and I don't know what it is, but LCD Sound System. When the weather's nice, roll down the windows and just crank it.
The more you talk, the more I love you. You said you're into jazz right now. I'm a big jazz fan myself. And I was talking to a music teacher, and she told me that what happens is we get older, we develop more of a complex ear for music. So some of the stuff we may have enjoyed a lot when we were younger, it changes. And she goes, that's probably why you're into jazz right now, because it's a more complex sound.
There's a lot to it. Yeah,
So you're changing and maturing, Kevin. That's a
I'm
good
trying.
thing. All right, let's talk about this crazy Dodgers Shohei Ohtani story. And this doesn't involve gambling, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Chad. People have read a little bit about it, but it hasn't gained any kind of national attention yet. But he hit his first home run as a Dodger recently, Shohei, and it was into the left field pavilion, I believe. And the ball bounced around a little bit, and a woman, all of a sudden, the ball appeared in front of her on the ground, and she just picked it up. She had it. Well, come to find out, Shohei Ohtani wanted that baseball because it was his first one as a Dodger, and that was going to be important to him. Apparently, he's collected some of the baseballs from his home runs, and he wanted it. So the Dodgers staff went out there and escorted the woman down underneath the grandstand to have a chat with her. And apparently, the first thing they did was separate her from her husband. He got no closer than 20 yards away. And they proceeded to tell her that if she didn't give Shohei the ball, they would not authenticate it as the ball that was his first home run. There's an authenticator, by the way, at every Major League game now, and they authenticate every milestone right there in person. Well, they had her on tape with the baseball, and they knew it was her. But if it's not actually authenticated by the major leagues, it's not worth nearly as much money. And come to find out, auction houses are now saying that ball's worth at least $100,000. Well, they took her downstairs and negotiated with her, and they ended up giving her 2 autographed hats from Ohtani and an autographed bat from Ohtani. And that was it. And she didn't get to include her husband in the conversations. And then Ohtani afterwards had the ball and has a big contingent of Japan newspapers following him around, told them, and the interpreter said he told them that he met her and negotiated with her, and that's how all this came to be. And according to most people, he was nowhere near her at any time.
So Amber Roman is the lady, and her husband's last name is Valenzuela. According to Sam Bloom in The Athletic, it says, in this case, though, Roman and Valenzuela say the security staff separated them, pressured them, and left them little choice but to hand over the baseball for what they considered a low ball offer. The Dodgers initially dangled 2 caps by Ohtani in exchange for a ball that an auction house representative mentioned was worth $100,000, like you said, Godfather. Roman said the hardball tactics by team officials included the threat of refusing to authenticate the baseball if she decided to take it home. This was no trivial matter. A lack of authentication could significantly reduce the ball's value and place the onus on Roman to prove its authenticity. And, quote, we're not trying to extort anyone. It's not the way we're not money hungry, Valenzuela said. It's just that it's a special moment. It's a special ball. I just think it's fair to be equally rewarded. I was just disappointed that a team that I hold so dear pulled a quote unquote quick one on us. That's crazy.
The Dodgers aren't that franchise that operates that way for the most part. They're known for customer service. You get treated fine at their ballpark. Been there a million times, as have you, Chad. And you always get first-class treatment at Dodger Stadium.
Okay, I've never caught a major home run ball. How should the process play out? As you mentioned, Kevin, it's a negotiation. So
Right.
how should it play out?
Well, normally you would go downstairs, and if the player himself wasn't there, somebody representing him would be, but they'd also give you a chance to find out. You don't have to make too many calls or internet contacts to find out what that ball might be worth.
Yes.
And that's only fair. I mean, some people would take that ball and take it home for a couple days. They would authenticate it. They would say, look, we're going to get back to you, but we want to take it home for a couple days and decide what to do. which is what happened for the famous baseball from last year. And they didn't allow that. They didn't. They threatened that if she left the premises with the baseball, they wouldn't authenticate it. And there should be a negotiation, and that ball is worth way more than a couple autographs and a ball or a bat. I mean, that's crazy.
$100,000.
Yeah.
I would definitely want to find out the value before I make some type of rush
Sure.
decision on what to do.
Yeah.
How would you handle that, Kevin?
I would want to take it home first and talk to people. It just doesn't make sense to me why they would want the bad press. These players make a lot of money. The organization makes a lot of money. I mean, the fans that are coming to the game, are the reason why the organization is making all this money. And it just doesn't make sense why they would want the bad press. Just pay them the money.
Do you think these fans are lying? And when they found out what the ball was actually worth, they feel jaded and they want a chance to renegotiate so they get more value for the ball because they didn't know at the time it was worth $100,000?
Well, I think they were taken advantage of at the time. Now, they may not have known at the time what it was worth. And a couple of days later, they found out. They have a right then, after they find out, that they got grifted. They got shafted. They got cheated. They really did. They got cheated. And look, Shohei Ohtani, if he wanted that baseball, I think we know by now that he might have $100,000 laying around in his pocket, or at least his gambling account, that he could give to them for the baseball. If you want it, pay market value for it, and they'll be happy to give it to you. It wasn't like they were going to sell it to somebody else.
What is the responsibility of the fan there? Is the fan obligated to give the baseball over to the player?
The team will always tell you that. The team will always say, look, you'd want him to have the ball, wouldn't you? I mean, he's the guy that hit the home run. It means a lot to him. As a fan of the Dodgers, wouldn't you like to see him have it? Blah, blah, blah. It's like the Aaron Judge home run ball. You hold on to it. Sometimes it doesn't end up to be worth as much as you thought. That one was put up for auction and went for less. But at least they had the chance to find out what it was worth.
I mean, Kevin, you're a big baseball guy. Do you think the fans obligated to give the ball over?
I think the teams are going to say that, but just so they don't start a riot every time somebody hits a home run in the
That's right.
outfield. But no, I don't think they're obligated to, honestly, unless it's an absolutely historic home run. If I was that player, yeah, I'd want it. But at the end of the day, the sport's for the fans.
These guys are multimillionaires. It's not as if they couldn't pay whatever the price. $1 million. You think Shohei would have a problem giving him $1 million if it was actually worth that?
Well,
come on.
What I would do if I were Shohei, and everyone knows that he's the richest player in baseball with a $700 million deal. Like, no one makes near the money he does. It's ridiculous. What I would want to do, just like it goes back to the whole our conversation on tipping, right? I'm going to over tip because I don't want to be known as someone that doesn't tip. So if you're Shohei, if you know the ball's worth $100,000, give them $200,000 and take a picture with them so everyone knows what a great ambassador you are for the game of baseball.
Yes.
And especially when you're under the cloud of suspicion of gambling, if you're to go and give double the price of the ball to the couple, or he could go back and do that now, there's $200,000.
Absolutely. And now he can go back and say, look, at the time, I didn't understand. I don't speak English. I don't know what was going on. He can hide behind that and give him that money. You're absolutely right, Chad. That would be a brilliant move by him at this point to go back and do that.
He's going to do that right now. He'll be like, I don't speak English. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the money. I'm happy to give that.
What's your philosophy on tipping, by the way?
Oh,
What's your
always
baseline?
over-tipping,
25%?
25%.
Yeah.
But here's the thing now, Kevin. You've been on our show, and you're a celebrity now, so you're probably going to have to tip a little more because you don't want people going all over town
They can't
saying,
think I'm cheap.
Kevin Goy is a cheapskate, man.
That's right.
That's no good.
Do you think someone with the power of Ohtani cares about how people perceive him?
Yeah, I do. I think he's image conscious. He's got endorsements. He's getting money on the side. He's going to live off his endorsements because of all the deferred money on his contract.
It would seem to me that you would want to go back and rectify this situation.
Absolutely.
Even if the couple's not being completely honest with how it all went down, if you go back and you make it good, then you come out a winner, the couple's happy, and then it's a good story. It's got a happy ending, right?
Yes, absolutely. And people are going to say, you know what? All they say about Ohtani, he's a good guy. Took care of these people.
Yeah, that's how I would look at it. Be like, dude, that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. What's money to him at this point?
Remember when Tom Brady, I can't remember what was exchanged, but remember he gave that Bitcoin to that fan? and it was worth like big time money. I can't remember what was exchanged, but Tom Brady gave a Bitcoin to the guy,
Yeah.
and it was worth like 60 grand or something wild like that.
Probably not now, but it was then.
Yeah. At the time, it was worth,
Yeah.
it had great value to it. So that's how I would handle it. And for me, like, I'm sorry, it's like I'm not trying to be greedy, but if I get a lottery ticket, I'll cash it in. I don't want a baseball bat that I'm going to display and have a story with. I'd rather have some cold hard cash.
Absolutely.
In today's world, hard economic times,
Yeah.
inflation.
Yeah.
I'll take the 100 grand. That's pretty cool, though. First home run for Shohei Ohtani and a Dodger. I just don't. If this is true and the Dodgers pressured this lady and separated the couple, what are they doing separating the couple? No, we're married, a-hole. Put us together. Can you
So
believe
weird.
that?
That's really bad form. That looks horrible. The optics of that are terrible.
What are you, commies? I mean, come on now. That seems crazy. I don't know if I buy that. That seems hard to believe because I've been to Dodger Stadium a bunch. I've always had a great experience from the ushers to
Yeah.
the entire staff. It's really good. But now that Shohei's in town, he probably wields a lot of power too. It's like, no, you need to give us that ball.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you buy the story
I do buy their story. Yeah.
that
I
they were
do.
pressured?
Yeah. Yeah. I could see it happening. I, 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 I don't think they'd come up with that story out of thin air. I don't. I just don't.
Especially for a team they love. What if they
Yeah.
realized about the value of the ball afterwards and they're like, hey, we got to go public with this?
Well, I think that's fair because they weren't given time to establish how much it was worth.
So is it fair to go back and say, hey, we need to renegotiate based on the true value of the baseball?
Yeah.
We got 2 caps and 2 bats and things worth 100 grand.
Right. What is this bat? It's too heavy for me to swing in a softball game anyway. What am I going to do? Put it on the wall? Come on.
What type of memorabilia would you ask for?
Memorabilia? The signed baseballs are always cool. Yeah.
Would you go bat or baseball? What would you do, Godfather?
I would go bat because it's more uncommon, and I would also say I want one of his jerseys autographed, one of his uniform tops autographed. Even though they're those cheap uniforms now that seem to be getting torn all the time when the guy slides into home plate. But yeah, I'd want that jersey signed, a real one, game worn jersey.
Now, who was it I saw the other day? Someone posted a picture. They met John Daly. They got half a pack of peanut M&Ms because Daly didn't want to eat the whole pack. And then he signed a pack of Marlboros and gave him the pack unopened. Now, that to me is cool. That'd be a story piece.
That's unique.
What's that pack of cigarettes for? John Daly signed it for me.
I followed him around during a U.S. Open once.
You
and-
did?
Yeah, to count how many Diet Cokes he drank
How
and how
many?
many cigarettes he smoked. He went through 1 pack of cigarettes at 18 holes. I remember that. And I think the Diet Cokes were up around, they weren't double figures, but it was more than a 6-pack.
How resilient is the human body?
Well, his is pretty damn resilient, I'll tell you that. Now he looks like Santa Claus. You've seen him, right? It's amazing how he looks now.
Man, it just feels to me like Shohei Ohtani's got to do a little damage control right now. People already think you're lying about the gambling and you're using the fact that you can't speak English as an excuse. You change the story with the interpreter, and now you've got fans being pressured to hand over a baseball worth 100 grand, and they get 2 bats and a couple of hats. Like, that seems a little bit, I don't want the bad press. Just make it right, Shohei.
Not worth it.
If you can pay off your interpreter to take the fall for you, you can handle this couple who decided to give over the baseball.
I mean, Chad, this is a guy with unlimited resources. He's got as much money as he'll need and his great grandkids will ever need.
Bill Plaschke is one of my favorite writers in sports. What
Yeah.
was his angle on it?
Look what happened. Here's what he told the story of these people. He just, by the way, recently he won the Red Smith Award, which is the award APSE gives out to the outstanding sports columnist every year. Jim Murray won it several times. That was kind of his predecessor at the Times.
Jim Murray was great. You like
Yeah.
Plaschke?
Yeah, well, I got to know Bill. He used to cover the Mariners. People don't remember that. He covered the Mariners when they first came
For
to
what, the
town.
Times?
Up in Seattle. No, at the Seattle Times or PI. I don't remember which one. Probably the Times. But, yeah, he was their beat guy for a while. And I met him up there going to games. And then we stayed in touch over the years. As long as I was a columnist, columnists talk to other columnists. They don't usually lower themselves to talk to other guys, but they talk to other columnists.
See, Kevin, I think you and I share something in common. I think my favorite baseball player of all time is probably Ozzie Smith. Is
Yeah,
that yours? Is that your
really?
number one?
He's hard to beat.
Yeah.
Backflip every game. He was just the energy he played with. Yeah, he was a lot of fun.
Did you ever cover Ozzie?
just, well, those World Series games and stuff.
Was he
I-
cool?
Well, I'll tell you what was cool, Chad. I went to spring training and watched their workouts. You should have seen him working on ground balls and things. All these things that people see him do, those come after thousands and thousands of ground balls being hit to him in practice.
You mean where you field a ground ball and then you're able to elevate into
Yeah.
the air, turn your body, and fire one to first base?
Well, just the simple act of catching some shortstops get a lot of really tough plays. And I saw him on his knees having people hit or throw balls to him from about 5 feet away and having to field them from his knees, which forces him to use his hands, his glove all the time. He's incredible. His preparation for a game is unbelievable.
I've never seen that in person for a shortstop in the majors. Is that what they do? They have just guy fire like BBs at him from close range?
Yeah, usually like throw them so that they have more control over where the ball goes. But Ron Washington, who was infield coach for the Braves for many years, now the manager of the Angels, he was known for his infield drills were incredible. Incredible.
Dude, the last thing I would ask for is a hat. I don't want someone's hat, even if it's brand new. What are you going to do with a hat? And how do you display that? That's
You
kinda
put
like,
it in a case, probably.
Gosh.
I mean, there's value in that. There's value in his autograph on a hat or on anything, probably, but not $100,000.
I would ask for I'll give you the ball, but let's take a trip to the casino. I want to hang out with Shohei for a night.
No, he's a loser. I don't think you want to hang out with him.
Let's go get down, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'd understand it if it was a Cubs fan that had the ball and they heckled him.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
They did it to their
that's
own.
real.
They did it to their own fan.
Yep, that's real. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
But a Dodger fan, he'd want him to have the ball. He'd get it from him. It's just a matter of the price.
you would think that someone, especially the Dodgers, that's not some type of
Well, they're not going to go down and try to get into Ohtani's wallet. It's not. Let's go down and see how much money Ohtani will give you for this ball. They're not going to act that way.
so they're probably taught to deal with the fan and try to get the
Yeah.
item for as little as possible.
Right. Don't you think? They think they're doing the guy a favor by doing that, and they're really not.
So you really have to approach it like you would any negotiation.
You got something valuable.
Yeah,
You're going to give it away?
If you don't treat it like a negotiation, you're screwed.
Yeah.
I'm willing to give up the ball, but
Let's talk, right? Let's talk.
yeah, let's talk. And the whole idea about not authenticating, that's just some nonsense. No, you're going to authenticate the ball, and then
Yeah.
we're going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
They can't not authenticate it, right?
I doubt if they actually could get away with that.
They should,
Because
ha-
then it wouldn't be worth anything to Ohtani either.
Yeah.
they should have a fan bill of rights when it comes to that kind of thing, where they just go out there and they hand the fan a piece of paper saying, "Here's how it is.
Yeah.
This is what your rights are. This is what you should do."
That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah.
A fan bill of rights so you know what your opportunity is. Because if you're going to your first baseball game and you're not familiar with that type of setting, I could see how you could be easily
Right.
coaxed into doing something that you really aren't prepared to handle.
Yeah, and very few times does anybody even know that that ball they caught might be worth something. Did you know that he would want the first home run ball that he hit as a Dodger?
No.
Never even occurred to me that he would want that ball.
Well, and Shohei's going to hit 1 billion more home runs before
Yeah.
it's all said and done. I wouldn't have thought that his first home run ball as a Dodger would be worth $100,000. That
Yeah.
surprised me.
I know.
Did that number surprise you?
Absolutely. I wouldn't have dreamed it would be worth that much.
All right, Kevin Goy is in studio. He's our special guest host today. He's a super stud. And when we come back, we'll talk a little NBA. What's up with the Clippers and Suns?
Oh.
35-4 right out of the gate. And they trail by as much as 37 in that first half.
Crazy.
But Phoenix is a championship contender?
I don't see that.
All right, we'll get into that next. Dave Decker going to talk some Blazers with us at 5:20 here on the Rip City Drive. All right, interesting situation in the NBA. Clippers and Suns are in the middle of a home and home. Last night they played in Phoenix. Tonight we get the rematch with the Suns and Clippers in Los Angeles. And last night, Phoenix opened the game just 2 of 19 from the field in the opening quarter. And booze started to rain down. LA built a 35-4 lead in less than 10 minutes. And Phoenix went nearly 6 minutes without scoring. They ended up losing the game 105-92, but trailed by as many as 37. They came back and made it close. They got to within 7 with about 6 minutes to go in the game, but they ended up losing by 13. Are you concerned about a team preparing for the playoffs to have a no-show like we saw last night?
Yeah, I don't think you do that when you're playing at home. I can't imagine a home team. I mean, we see the Blazers. They don't have any kind of roster compared to the Phoenix Suns. And really, nobody's going to beat them like that. I mean, that's brutal. And they lost one game by 60, but that wasn't a home game, and they weren't down 35-4 in the first quarter. This is a team, Chad. Remember before the season started how many people were picking them to come out of the West? This was the big three they had. Booker went 1 for 11 in that game, I think. And they're not a big three. Beal hasn't really been, and who expected him to be the Bradley Beal of the old days? He's not. And even Durant is not the same player defensively that he used to be. And Booker, I don't know, some nights here, some nights there, he's been hurt. They've all been hurt, actually, and all three of them at this point of their career appear to be injury prone.
I just don't like their roster makeup. And their bench, They have one of the worst scoring benches in the NBA. I just don't think they have the depth or the defense to be able to compete.
They sacrificed so much to obtain those players. They gave away picks. They gave away players that there's really nothing left other than the big three.
So, Kevin, here's a big question that Dwight and I have. We look at Denver in a class of their own, right? We think they're going to win the championship barring injury. Do you see any team in the Western Conference that can provide resistance to Denver on their pathway to the finals?
I just had this conversation regarding the Suns and Denver. I still think the road goes through Denver in the Western Conference, and a friend was talking about the Suns, and I just don't see it. I'm a friend of a friend with David Edelman. He was in town the last time the Denver came through, and we were having some drinks, and I was trying to get out of him who he thinks the team would be, and I think you got to look at Oklahoma City Thunder just because of like the athleticism that they have. But again, I don't see who's beating Denver in the West. It's definitely not the Suns.
Which team do you think matches up best with them, Godfather?
Well, actually, I think Minnesota does, and they have a big game tonight. They're playing. There's a lot on the line. They're playing in Denver tonight, and each team played on the road last night. So it's a back-to-back, which is tough for Denver because Murray's been nursing injuries, and I think Minnesota, except it's hard to believe in Minnesota because they just haven't been anywhere. They haven't been anything close to going that far, but they match up size-wise with them a little bit. That's one important thing, is to be big enough to rebound with them and to have somebody to follow Jokic around and try to defend him.
I think the one concern for Denver is Jamal Murray's health.
Yeah.
Like, if he's not there, they can't do it.
No, they can't.
He's critical.
Yeah. They're very dependent on their starting lineup. I mean, they're not great off the bench.
No. There are 8 guys. Their 8-man rotation is awesome. But if one of those guys is out, then they become a much different type of team. And Jokic needs Murray to make that go the way that they like it to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go out to the phones. Tony in Boring wants to chime in. Tony, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive with Kevin Goy as host today. What's up? What's on your mind?
Good afternoon. Hey, Kevin. That's awesome. I think the biggest news today is in the music industry, and Steven Tyler is off the IR, and we have a new scheduled date for the Moda Center for November 21st for Aerosmith and the Black Rose.
Excellent. Have you ever seen Aerosmith in concert, Godfather?
No, never. I was going to go, and then it was postponed.
Have you ever seen him, Kevin?
I have not.
Now, Tony, have you seen Aerosmith in person before?
This will be the first time for me, and also seeing the Black Rose.
Wow. You got to be excited about that.
I'm stoked. Yeah, we got some good concerts coming up this summer. Green Day and Smashing Pumpkins as well.
Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters are going to be outdoors at the stadium.
we're going to be at that one too.
Wow,
The
man.
wife, I know. It's going to be busy. The wife's a huge Foo Fighters fan, so
Me too.
yeah, you're going to be there. I'm assuming then.
Well, I hope to be. I mean, my buddy has got to come up with tickets for me.
He's going to be there. You know he will be. Yes. He's not going to miss that. So, Tony, how you been doing?
I know who your buddy might be.
Yeah, take a guess.
Dude, I haven't talked to you in a while, man. How you doing?
We're hanging in there, managing work's keeping me busy, and I'm glad it's sunny out. That helps. So you used to have a cockatiel. Tell me what happened to your cockatiel.
I don't remember what happened to Homie the bird. I don't remember what my dad did. I think he may have gotten rid of him. I don't know. I'll have to double check. I don't remember what happened
He
or
just
what the end
disappeared?
result was. Yeah. We called him Homie. That was his name. And he got me in trouble once because I was skipping school one day, and for some reason I called my dad, but I was calling him from the kitchen right next to the bird, and my dad's like, "Why are you at home right now?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I hear Homie in the background."
Oh, God.
Because he was whistling and trying to talk to me and stuff. Because he was a noisemaker.
Yeah.
Why, do you have a cockatiel?
Exactly. Well, that's kind of the sad news right now. He went away, just like everybody that through work. He'll be in the background. You know how they like to yap when you're talking, and
Yes.
people, oh, is that a cockatiel? Yeah, I used to have one. Yeah, what happened to yours? Now he got outside and flew away. Well, it was just, I guess it's just bound to happen. And yeah, it was a couple Saturdays ago, and yeah, I always wondered if he'd come back. Well, now I know.
Oh, so he didn't
So I was
die.
wondering-
He actually flew away.
Well, I don't know. Hopefully he landed at somebody's place and they got him. But
Yeah.
the weather, the conditions here are not. Right now, the weather, the nights are a little cold for
Yeah.
that
They
particular
wouldn't
bird.
last.
So.
They wouldn't last very long outside. I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
A lot of hawks and
Yeah.
the like out here as well. So between the weather and the predators, it's not good. But hey, I wish him luck.
Hey, what was his name? What was your bird's name?
That was Lannon.
Lannon?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, dude, we got to catch
Yeah.
up, man. We got to chat. It'd be nice to catch up with you, Tony.
Yes, Chad, we do absolutely. But yeah, hey, I thought you were going to that concert, so I wanted to hopefully surprise you with that news. But maybe you already knew.
No, it's great. I haven't made a decision on Aerosmith yet, to be honest with you. Aerosmith is like one of those bands where I like a lot of their music, but I've never thought I need to go see them. I've just never felt Aerosmith motivated.
Yeah, I would like to go. Steven Tyler's always been a guy I wanted to see in person.
You like Steven Tyler?
Armageddon ruined Aerosmith for me.
Oh, really?
I do like Steven's daughter. I think she's nice.
She's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
I'd rather hang out with her than I would an evening with Aerosmith, to be honest with you.
I'd rather hang out with Dave Grohl, to tell you the truth.
Dave Grohl is one of the coolest dudes in music. You like Grohl?
Absolutely.
Grohl for sure.
Yeah.
He's a great interview. We need to get him
Oh.
on the show.
Phenomenal. That would be great.
I've reached
We
out
could
to
set
his
that up.
website. I've been trying to set that up. I've seen a couple of interviews with him, and I'm fascinated.
Yeah.
He's got great stories.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. Kevin Goy is in studio. It's his show today. We're going to talk basketball with Dave Decker coming up on the Rip City Drive at 5:20. We'll get his take on what we saw last night from Scoot, and more importantly, the offseason, which is going to be critical for this club. And when we come back, we'll talk about Mel Kiper's rumor, and we'll focus in on the draft, which is coming up. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, now 4 o'clock chat here. What's up, my friends? DeAndre Ayton had 30 points, 13 rebounds. Scoot, big night, 19 points, 15 assists in the 10-point loss to the Pelicans. Portland has 3 more games remaining on the schedule. The Warriors are in town tomorrow night. Tip at 7. I'll have game day live from Moda at 4:30. Rockets in town on Friday. They finish out the year Sunday in Sacramento against the Kings. Giannis avoided a serious Achilles injury last night, and the Bucks went over the Celtics, suffered a calf strain. John Calipari agreed to a 5-year deal, starting at $7 million per year to be the head coach at Arkansas. From the NFL, Josh Allen agrees to a 5-year, $150 million deal with the Jags. NFL draft coming up on April 25th. Mariners got their 5th win today, topped the Jays in Toronto 6-1. More of the Rip City Drive is coming at you right now. Special guest host Kevin Goy is in studio. All right, NFL draft is coming up on April 25th. And Kevin Goy's in studio, by the way. And Kevin is the gentleman who bid on the opportunity to host the Rip City Drive through our auction for ALS Northwest. So we're happy to have him in studio. It's great to see you in here, Kevin. Now,
Happy to be here.
you grew up in St. Louis before you moved out here to the Northwest, and he's been in Portland for 17 years, so he's now a local. But I'm assuming the Rams were your football team?
The very first game I saw was the Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals football team at Busch Stadium. Was my very first memory.
Old school.
I remember going with my grandpa, but I definitely became a Rams fan. Suffered through those first few years of just awful football. And then
Who was the quarterback back then? Was it Neil Lomax?
it was Lomax, and then, who was it? I'm drawing a blank on the name, but it was, wasted Jerome Bettis, with no team around him.
Yes.
Yep.
The wasted years.
Yep.
That's great, man. Neil Lomax, who went to Portland State.
Yeah.
He's a local product
Okay.
out of Lake Oswego, was there in St. Louis with the Cardinals. And then, of course, they made the transition to Arizona, and they were called the Phoenix Cardinals before they transitioned the name to Arizona, if you remember that. What happened when the Rams moved to L.A.? Did you double barrel them or what?
I gave up on them as a team for sure. When I moved out here, I was going up to Seattle quite a bit, and so I became a Seahawks fan as
Aw,
long as they
that
weren't
sucks.
playing the Rams.
Okay.
And so I'd root for the Rams always, but I became a Seahawks fan. So they're my kind of adopted team, but I don't feel a lot of allegiance to them.
But you respect that, don't you, Godfather? Team decides to leave town, and Kevin's like, I don't have time for you now.
You're dead to me now. That's the way it works. You leave town, it's over.
Yeah, Kroenke did the St. Louis pretty bad too. So
Yeah, he did.
Now, did you say you went to school with one of the Cronkies?
yeah, Josh Kroenke was a year ahead of me. He was friends with a couple of my friends. So
Were you
Yep.
aware of his financial
I
situation
would-
back then?
everybody was very much aware of his financial situation.
He made them aware of it, right?
Yeah, there was one memory I have of him walking out of the bar and leaving a tab and me having to pick up a tab for Kroenke. It was
That's great.
pretty funny.
Oh, by the way, did you catch him mentioning a friend of a friend hanging out with David Adelman?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We're big fans of the Adelman family.
Yeah,
they're
you-
great.
You say that Rick is the best Blazers coach in history.
I think he's the best of all time, Blazer coach. He's a terrific coach and a terrific guy. Love his family. David's a great kid. And it's amazing where he's coming from. A coach at Lincoln High School, and now he's the lead assistant for an NBA champion.
He's been
That's
doing great.
pretty good.
Is he enjoying being in the NBA?
I think he loves it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
great.
He's
Is
has
excited
a
to
lo-
see what he does.
He has a lot of good things to say about Jokic, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
He says he's the most athletic player on the team. And
We-
you just don't imagine that from a guy that's as big as he is.
Well, didn't you hear from Rick or Dave that Jokic is also incredibly coachable in
Yes.
terms of what they want to do?
Yes, absolutely. That's what makes him a team leader. He's a team guy. He's all for the team, and he follows instructions. He's a good teammate, and he follows the coaches wherever they want him to go. It's great.
All right, so the draft is coming up on April 25th. Mel Kiper's got a prediction out where he's actually saying that the Chargers, who currently sit at number 5, they're probably looking to move out of that spot because they can get value by moving out. And this is a team with Jim Harbaugh now where I think we all agree that they're not looking for flashy bells and whistles. They want big hogs to come in and build a physical football team. Just look at any team that he's had, whether it be at Stanford, with the 49ers, or with Michigan.
Well, and they don't need a quarterback either. That's the big thing. They got one.
Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
They've got the quarterback. And I think I played the clip a couple of weeks ago where Harbaugh believes that the offensive line is the most important unit on the entire football field because everyone benefits the quarterback, the running backs, the receivers, and even the defense when the offensive line can allow you to go on a 15-play, 8-minute drive because you give the defense rest. So you're likely going to move out if you're Harbaugh if you can because you're going to draft offensive linemen. And you can get those guys later in the first round and you get more draft capital in return. And the reason why a guy like Harbaugh wants more draft capital is because over the next year or two, this is going to be prime draft time for Jim Harbaugh because he's familiar with all the guys who are coming out of college because he's been coaching against them.
Yeah.
You want to take advantage of that knowledge while you have a chance to do it. So they're looking to move out. So Kuiper thinks that it's going to be Minnesota who acquired that extra pick from the Texans. They got 2 first-rounders in this year's draft. They're sitting there, I think, at number 11, and then they picked up one in the 20s from the Texans. So they need a quarterback because they lost their quarterback to Atlanta in Kirk Cousins. So here's the interesting part about this, though. They want to move up and likely get J.J. McCarthy. But Arizona's sitting at number 4, and they've let it be known that they're open for business so that teams can move up. Denver reportedly has strong interest in J.J. McCarthy. I can't imagine Minnesota moving up to 5 if they're worried about Denver jumping them and getting to number 4 because we assume quarterbacks are going to go 1, 2, 3 with Chicago, Washington, New England. Well, Arizona's sitting there at 4. They don't need a quarterback. So they'll be open to moving out as well. And if Minnesota goes to 5, Denver could leapfrog them to 4 and get J.J. McCarthy. That's the risk in going to 5 and making the move with Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers.
But that's why this could be one of those draft day deals where you don't make the deal until you hear what they're doing it for. So you swing that deal if McCarthy's available. If not, you just go another path. You probably have another deal sitting there waiting in case you can't get your guy.
Well, if you're Minnesota, why not move up now? Why not do it now and get to number 4 so you're in a secure spot to be able to get your quarterback if you know the top 3 teams are going to take QBs?
Yeah, unless the price is too high.
Well, that's the price of doing business for quarterbacks. You're probably going to have to give up 2 to 3 first-round picks and maybe another additional pick or a player to be able to move up and get the guy you want.
Yeah, Arizona reportedly wants Harrison, and they don't want to get too much lower or they won't get him.
Oh, Marvin Harrison,
the
receiver?
Mm-hmm. They need a receiver.
They could. I just think that would you rather have Harrison or would you rather have 3 first-round picks?
Yeah.
What would you want?
Well, you want the picks, obviously.
Yeah. So, what I'm saying is that if Minnesota desperately wants JJ and they need a quarterback, are you going to risk going to 5 when you get leapfrogged at 4? So you think they might wait till draft day?
Yeah, I think that's possible, certainly.
So do you think Denver
if they think they can't make the right deal for the higher pick?
So likely Denver's probably investigating moving up to 4 right now, and the price is probably more than what they want to pay.
Do you think they want McCarthy that bad that they would give up? God, they don't have a lot of inventory.
Well, you do for future first-round picks. So I guess it's a question of if you're Arizona, do you want 2 first-round picks in this year's draft, or do you want to set yourself up to where you could have future firsts in case things don't work out with Kyler Murray?
Yeah.
What do you think is a better way structurally to handle that? Future firsts or to have 2 in this year's draft?
I would always take them now to where you know what you're going to get. The only thing is, if you're dealing with Denver, you might want next year's first-round pick.
Because they're going to suck.
Because they're not going to be very good.
So here's a question then. How many of these quarterbacks do we believe in outside of Caleb Williams? What about you, Kevin? Do you buy it? Who do you look in with the quarterbacks? Do you think Caleb Williams is legit?
I think Caleb Williams is the only one. I just don't get excited about quarterback draft picks. So many of the good stories in the NFL when it comes to quarterbacks are the ones that weren't drafted number 1 or 2 or 3. So, yeah, I think it's a tough position to draft for. I always think a good lineman is the way to go.
So, Godfather, here's my point with the quarterback. I was thinking about this last night with the Broncos. If J.J. McCarthy turns out to be the franchise quarterback, Sean Payton gets him, he turns out to be a super stud, how much is too much to give up for that player? 3 first-rounders? Would you
nothing
go 4?
is too much if he's a franchise quarterback.
Yes, exactly. it's risky. But if you get the guy that truly is the one that's going to turn your franchise around, then who gives a flying rip if you give up 3 first-rounders?
Well, then it comes down to how sure are you? Because they know about high drafted quarterbacks too. They know the percentages. And I mean, a guy like Sean Payton probably, when he feels it in his bones, he probably thinks he's right without a question. But man, he might have to give up a lot in a position where, they still need a lot of players.
That's true. But most importantly, they need a quarterback. Like Minnesota, they don't have one. I just don't believe in McCarthy enough to give up a haul to be able to move up and
Right.
get him.
Yeah.
But if he does turn out to be that guy, it doesn't matter what I think, or what does Sean Payton think?
Right.
Is he worth 3 first-rounders? What if you go to 4 and he turns out to be a super stud? Do you care about those future first-rounders not being there? You probably don't, right? But if you move up and give up 3 first-rounders to get JJ and then he turns out to stink, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
And then Peyton's legacy is tarnished forever.
That's why maybe you don't, is he going to risk everything on that trade? I mean, that's a big risk for him.
Oh, my
His
goodness.
reputation's on the line. That's why the first hour of that draft is going to be the most watched draft ever, I swear.
I think it's fascinating. I'm convinced that Caleb Williams will go number 1, and after that, I really don't know. Probably Daniels number 2, right?
Yeah.
New England at 3, are they going to take Drake May? Probably.
Probably.
Or are they going to surprise everyone and take JJ?
That really throws a monkey wrench into it.
Yeah, what if you move up in New England? Can you get details from another team? Like if you're Minnesota, like, hey, do you have ways of knowing who New England's going to take?
It depends on whether or not it's to New England's advantage to share that information with anybody. In this case, I don't think it hurts them to do that. It depends on who your friends are, too.
Which quarterback do you think has the most likelihood of busting in this draft? Caleb, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, or Michael Penix? Or do you even put Nix and Penix in that category if they're taking day 2?
I wouldn't put, if they're taking day 2, you can take those guys in day 2. That's not a problem. I think Daniels only for the reason of his health. I just don't see him. I look at him the same way I looked at Tua. He's just not going to stay healthy enough for you to win with him. And I said that from the start. I don't know. Daniels, the way he runs around and takes hits, he's totally unafraid to take a hit in college. He better not be that way in the pros.
Yeah, the frame is a concern.
Whew.
Injuries would be bad.
But Drake May, I mean, what's he done? McCarthy, what have we seen him do at crunch time?
I think he threw 22 touchdown passes last year.
In college, where everybody else is throwing 45 or whatever.
Hey, did you watch the documentary with Nancy on this superstar right here? Herb Albert?
Absolutely.
You like Herb?
Yes, absolutely.
Great documentary
See?
out about him.
I told
haven't
you, the
seen that
more
one
Kevin
yet.
talks, the more I like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to watch it. It's called Herb Albert Is, and I streamed it on Peacock. Is that where you saw it?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, it's guy's
I'll check that
fascinating.
out.
Terrific trumpet. Only artist in history to have a #1 song as a vocalist and as an instrumentalist.
And he's a sculptor and a painter.
That's
He's a
impressive.
classic overachiever.
Yeah.
He would have a lot in common with your wife. She can do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just the clown sitting over in the corner
We're the sports
with,
guy.
with the TV on. Yeah. I play the TV. She plays about 8 musical instruments.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll keep things rolling. When we come back, Kevin's going to take us inside of each of his businesses, which are fascinating. It's Kevin Goy Day here on the Rip City Drive on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Rip City Drive. Kevin Goy is in studio today. He is our host as he won the bid to host the Rip City Drive with our fundraiser for ALS Northwest. So it's great to have him in studio. And Kevin, your story is amazing. You moved out here from St. Louis 17 years ago, and now you've got 3 businesses. And I want to talk about each one to kind of highlight what you focus on and specialize on. But first off, Bar Diane, Northwest 21st and Irving over there by Cinema 21. Give us the background on Bar Diane. How did that become to be?
Well, it was okay. So Bar Diane was always like a dream of mine to open up a bar. And one of my best friends who I met when I first moved out here, Sammy, who's my business partner at the bar, was just the perfect. She's, and from the industry, has worked at a bunch of different places. I don't know if you ever went to Clyde Common downtown. It's, no longer there after COVID. Helped open up Pepe La Moco, which was one of the coolest bars in Portland, down in the basement of the same building. So she, a good friend, had all the skills to, run the backside of the restaurant business and bar business. It's very different than any business I've been involved in. But
did you have any experience in the restaurant business before you got involved?
Yeah, so I mean, I knew how to run a business. I knew what I'd been on the other side of the bar quite a bit. My last job, I was traveling 2 to 3 weeks out of the month, and I did that for 10 years. And before I even had meeting notes,
you spent a lot of time on the other side of the bar.
Yeah, I think I hit 1 million miles on American Airlines when I was 34. So it was a lot of travel. And before I had meeting notes for, I'm sure my old bosses don't appreciate it, but I had the restaurants and the bars that I wanted to check out in all the cities decided on. And so spent a lot of time seeing a lot of different bars, going to a lot of different places. So I knew what would work from a customer side of thing. I just needed a partner and somebody that could, help me understand how to make it work.
How'd you cross paths with her?
It was, so she worked at, there's a little tiny bar called M Bar that was on 21st. And when I first moved in, I moved into the neighborhood. I had bought a condo like right before the market crash in 2008.
Nice.
And so, didn't have a lot of money after that. So it was just wandering down to M Bar and, having some wine and some beer. And she worked there. And then she worked across the street at a restaurant called Basta's. That's now Karina, which is a great little spot. So yeah, I just met her from being a bartender, and her best friend was a regular there too. We became friends. I met her now husband, and it was a very neighborhood centric street, and we just became friends over the years.
So how'd the conversation come about starting a business?
Drunkenly, I think. I don't know how anybody comes up with a good reason or a good idea to start a bar and a restaurant. And, it's definitely not I don't think very many people get rich on bars and restaurants, but it's one of the most unique opportunities to build community. I think a a lot of people take, for advantage. It's just not having a bar to go to, and just, when you live in a neighborhood and get to meet up with friends, like, there was oftentimes I'd come home from a trip and I wouldn't even have to call anybody. I just wander down the street and see friends and meet new people.
Kevin, you said after all those years of being in bars, you kind of learned what works and what doesn't. I'm curious to ask you, having been in that business for a while myself, what does work now? What's working for you at Bar Diane?
I think keeping it fresh. I think customer service is always the most important thing. I think a lot of people get in the rut of, it's a hard job and customers can be jerks, and it can be tough to please people. But realizing why you're in the business in the first place, which is customers.
Well, and the other thing I ran into and heard a lot about from other bar owners was you got to keep your eye on your employees, because that is one business where the bartender or a server or whomever can get their hands on a lot of your money.
I always made it a point to be by the bar, every day if I could, especially when we first opened. But I've also been very lucky. We've had an incredible crew. Everyone that's come, that's worked for us, that's come through, that, has moved on even, they're all wonderful people. And I've been lucky, I think, to never have to deal with that. I've had a very good crew. We're also a small bar. I think size is important. I think people try to open up a spot too big.
Yeah.
They see, how many number of seats can I sit in here, fit in here for, bringing in as much money as possible. But I think being realistic about, the size of the place to be able to provide good customer service, a good experience, because it's all about experience. It's about, feel and feeling welcome and feeling comfortable. That was another big part of the bar, was making it a place that everybody felt comfortable coming and hanging out.
Everybody wants to own the Cheers bar,
Yeah,
where you
yeah, yeah.
walk in and everybody knows you and you know them and all that. Have you had any trouble keeping good employees? Because that's also a part of that business, I think.
I think a lot of that comes down from, from the top down too. Is if you treat your employees well, they're going to want to stay around. And, I made it a point, and even when we weren't making a lot of money, just whatever money we could make, I wanted to be able to provide as much of as close to a livable wage as possible, and provide healthcare. And in all my businesses, I provide healthcare as an
Wow.
option. So
That's unusual in that business.
there's a lot of very big businesses in this industry that still don't do that.
Yeah.
Are employees or prospective employees surprised that you offer those type of benefits?
I think it's becoming more of a competitive thing. I think there's a small pool of really good employees in this city, and so it is a competitive advantage for sure. But I think if you want to get the best talent, at this point you have to do it.
All right, with Bar Diane, what type of food options do you have at Bar Diane?
So everything from oysters. Next door, we have an incredible cheese program. We have a cheesemonger actually in house that has. We probably have one of the best cheese selections in the city. And so we always have a nice cheese selection. So you can get just a glass of wine and cheese board at Bar Diane. We work with some amazing farms around the community. I think supporting local agriculture is important. And sourcing, good fresh ingredients. So salads are always really, really good. It's not, your bagged lettuce that you get at so many other places. And whatever seasonal greens and veggies are available are always mixed into the entrees. We always do like a crudo. We have a beautiful scallop crudo right now, super fresh, delicious. Oh, we have a couple amazing bakers in the back of the kitchen. So there's always like some really fun, ever-changing desserts. But yeah, a lot of good snacks, good fresh greens. And then usually we try to, have, it's not a big kitchen, especially at Bar Diane. So we're a little limited in the types of food that we can do. But they knock it out of the park. They're
That's
really
awesome.
good.
It's funny you mentioned the fresh produce and the local farmers. One thing that I've always been told by the different restaurant owners I've talked to here in town, they said that one of the things that makes Portland unique is the good relationship between restaurants and the local farmers, being able to provide that farm-to-table experience. Would you agree with that assessment?
I think Oregon and the Northwest in general is very lucky to have the farms and the ability to grow so much diversity of food. And like the Willamette Valley is some of the best soil in the world. And so, yeah, we're very lucky. I think it makes Portland a very unique city in regards to quality of ingredients.
That's absolutely terrific. The other thing I've been told by restaurant owners I wanted your take on was they said one thing that makes Portland one of the best food cities is that it's a community that will embrace you. Like no matter where you come from in the world, if you come from a culture and you want to bring something to the table and you provide good service and a good product, that people will give you a chance no matter where you come from.
It's true. I think it's a tight knit community of business owners and bars and restaurants, and everybody knows everybody, or their friend knows them, and so it's degrees of Kevin Bacon when it comes to the restaurant industry, and everybody is very supportive of each other.
That's terrific.
If I come in there after a movie at Cinema 21, you got a late night snack for me that you'd recommend?
The bar, when we first opened up Bar Diane, we were open a little later than we are right now. We're currently open until 10. So we
wow.
would recommend coming in for some snacks before the movie.
Okay.
Get a glass of wine to ease you into whatever movie you're going to go see.
And I'm guessing you don't have like greasy nachos and
No. no greasy nachos,
no,
but there's plenty of
potato
spots.
skins. You're not dealing in that
We're not
kind
dealing in that
of
category.
dive bar food, right?
No, there's plenty of that on that street.
Yeah.
All right. So part of that, now I don't know how the building is set up, but Negociant, which is the cafe, cheese, and wine.
Yes.
Is it right? Is it the same building? How does that work?
It's in the same building, so it's directly across. If you're standing in line to get a ticket at Cinema 21 and you turn around, you'll see our storefront at Negociant. And it's definitely, we're open up earlier there. We're open up at 11 o'clock until 9 o'clock at the Negociant. And then Bar Diane is from 4 until 10.
That's
And then
terrific.
if you show, and we're very strict about, like, it's one of my pet peeves is if we say we're open until 10, we're open until 10. So you can walk in at 9:50 and we're going to serve you.
Yeah,
So-
one of my biggest complaints about bars. Yeah, we're open till 2:30. You go by at 12:30. If they haven't had a customer in 5 minutes, those guys just shut down. Wait a second, you're supposed to be open till
Well,
2:30.
we got to have a discussion about this because I bartended for a few years, and I'm very respectful of restaurants and restaurant workers. Like I have a policy where I'm not going to go in right before closing. Like if you close at 10, I'm not coming in at 9:55 and ordering food. I'm not doing it because I feel like it's disrespectful. Where do you come out on that?
I don't disagree with you. It's more, but it does come from like having traveled so much and been on this side of the business. If you start closing early and you get that, somebody comes by and first impressions are so important, especially in the bar and restaurant industry. And somebody comes by for the first time, 15 minutes, and they see you're already, cleaning stuff up and locking things up. They're going to walk away, not feel welcome, and not come back.
Yeah, some of these places, like if they're supposed to be open until midnight, they'll close at 11 if they're not having business. And it's not supposed to work that way.
It's a
If you're open
slippery
till
slope.
midnight, you're open till midnight. I'm not saying go in 5 minutes before or anything like that, but an hour before. I mean, come on, you're supposed to be open. It says right here in your window, you're open till midnight.
Yeah, I used to go when I would bartend. A lot of times I'd go down to Northwest after I was done because I get off late, and I like going in late to like Nob Hill Bar and Grill because
Yeah.
they're always welcoming. I could go in and get a burger and be able to sit down and have a glass of wine and enjoy myself, and I never felt the pressure of not coming in, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it's knowing what lane you're into as a bar and restaurant and not try to be everything for everybody.
Ah.
And, and that was when we opened up Bar Diane and Negociant. We were trying to fill a niche of something that wasn't in that neighborhood. And so that's kind of how we landed on those two spots.
How much do you enjoy the wine game? You mentioned the soils. I had a conversation with Jeff Tate from Queensryche, who was in the wine game, and he told me something interesting about the Northwest. He said that he travels a lot, but he said he's noticing now, like overseas, like in France and different places, Northwest wines popping up on menus over in Europe, which he said, you would think is never something that should happen. But he said the reason why is because of the soil. It allows you to grow all the different types of grapes, which allows you to have a great variety in the wines. What's your take on that?
No, I think, again, for the same reason that we're able to grow such a diversity of food, the soil here, different soil types, the volcanic soil, different mineral deposits allows for all kinds of really cool wines. I mean, I don't know if you knew, but it was a while back what put Oregon wine on the scene was there was a blind tasting of Pinot Noir, which is one of my favorite grapes, which, is the prominent grape in the Willamette Valley. They did a blind tasting in France and actually beat out the best houses in France. And the judges, were up in arms. They couldn't believe it. But it put Oregon on the map. We make really good wine out here. And I think people around the world are starting to recognize it.
How are you enjoying being in the wine game as a wine fan? Because you enjoy drinking it.
It's super fun. Yeah, I mean, like part of my job some days is to sit down and just, taste 20 different wines. So it's kind of hard to complain when that's your job.
How does the teamwork work? How hard is it to have a partner? How do you guys make decisions? Because you probably have disagreements too, but how do you arrive at decisions when it comes to, obviously, you want to put the business first. How does that process work out?
I think it's a lot of trust, and, you got to trust your partner. I think that's one thing I've learned in business. And if you want to have opportunities and grow and be able to do different things, you have to trust your partner. You have to trust other people. And so I try not to step on their toes and let them do their thing and know what I'm good at and know what I'm not good at. Try to keep your ego out of it.
I'm curious too. You mentioned something about this. It's not a business where you're not going to become a billionaire doing that, right? Are you guys doing well enough that you feel comfortable now with the business?
We haven't had a normal year since we opened up in 2019. And so it's been, it's definitely been a rough go, but, this year's actually looking up and, I'm talking to other friends in the business. It looks like 24 is, maybe the first year since, or at least from our experience, having only dealt with COVID years for the most part, is going really well. And I'm looking forward to this year. It feels like things are fresh again.
All right, Bar Diane and Negociant, which is right down there, Northwest 21st in Irving. Your other business, One Green World, which is totally different than the restaurant world. How did you get into, growing things and providing plants and produce and all those things? How did you get into that?
It was a nursery. It was a little bit circumstantial. It wasn't planned. I came to help out with the business. and just to, provide some assistance. I was looking to get out of my old job, and they needed some help with the website. The company had been around since the early '90s, and we bought it 7 years ago, and they needed a new website needed to be built and new procedures and back end figuring some stuff out. We ship a lot of plants. Probably 70% of our business is online orders and shipping
Wow.
plants all over the country.
All over the
And
country.
all over the country. And so for a period of the year, we're a shipping company that happens to sell plants. But then the rest of the year, and it's pretty typical in nursery business to make all your money, in the spring season and the fall, the planting seasons, and then you have to let go of your staff. And so it's been a fun struggle, but we've gotten there where we stay busy enough and torture ourselves getting plants out the door in the spring so that we can keep our crew on and have fun in the summertime.
I would think shipping plants is a delicate kind of operation, right?
It's almost one of those you have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the crew it's all day every day, just prepping, pulling plants, then prepping them, and then boxing them. And it's not like a cookie cutter. Plants are growing throughout the season and changing sizes and shapes, and so there's no just formulaic. Somebody orders this plant, it goes in this box. It's very much every order has to be handled separately.
One of my favorite things I've done when I was a junior and senior in high school, I became good friends with my horticulture teacher, and he let me, as a TA, I got to take care of the greenhouse for 2 years. And I actually enjoyed the process of mixing soils, transplanting plants, watering them, and watching them grow. Like, it sounds crazy, but I enjoyed the whole process. It was a very relaxing experience.
It's very therapeutic hanging out in a greenhouse, and it's one of my favorite things. Like, especially when the weather's nice. At the end of the day, just stand a couple hours later and just you're just hanging out and just watering plants, and it's very meditative.
Kevin, you
It's
must be
awesome.
you got to be a quick learner. I mean, you've gotten yourself involved in two businesses that I'm guessing before you jumped in with both feet, you didn't have an awful lot of knowledge about either one of those, did you?
Pretty much zero.
Did you have family and friends saying, "What are you doing, man? That's crazy"?
Yeah, I had a lot of people tell me not to do it, but I mean, the nursery, especially on the restaurant and bar side, I had
Yeah.
a few friends like, don't do it. But it's been fun.
Different partners for each business?
Different partners for each. Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been, I would say I feel like I've gotten very lucky in that regard. But, I see a lot of people are not successful because they won't won't get a partner. And it's like, that's my advice to anyone running a business. Find a partner.
Find a good partner.
Find a good partner.
Which one takes up more of your time?
Right now, it's definitely the nursery, and I love it. I'm sure that a few of the crew is listening right now. So,
All right, One Green World, Southeast 134th and Foster, Negociant and Bar Diane, right there in Northwest at 21st and Irving. So go check them out. It's Kevin Goy who is in studio, and when we come back, Dwight and I want to ask you about your process. You mentioned you've got friends in the restaurant business. I've always thought it'd be fascinating. Like, if you own, I want to know how much you go out and check out what everyone else is doing too.
for sure.
So we'll get into that. And then we're going to talk Blazers with Dave Deckard coming up at 5:20. Michael Shacker is here. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Kevin Goy is in studio hanging out today. He won the bid and he is hosting the show today. So you and I both love Ox, which is a great spot off MLK. Best lamb chop I've ever had is at Ox, but it's one of those places, like there's so many different places in town that provide a different vibe and a different flavor, but their food is spectacular.
It's one of the best spots.
Yeah, sensational. You went there. Eric and I took you to Ox once.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of lamb chops, though. I don't eat nice little lambs. I just feel sorry for Mary had a little lamb.
Oh my gosh, here come the bad dad jokes. You didn't have lamb. I did, but you had something else. But you said you enjoyed the meal.
Yeah, I did. Like I say, I wouldn't have a lamb chop, though. I wouldn't have a pork chop either, as far as that goes. Just don't like them.
Okay, but what would you have? You
I
like
would
steak,
have a filet
right?
mignon. Yeah.
All right. Speaking of that, I'm going to El Gaucho a week from Friday
Really?
with a group of guys. Yep.
Good for you.
To the one in Vancouver.
Ah.
You like El Gaucho?
It's been a while, but yes, all that travel for work. It was definitely my favorite of the corporate steakhouse chains.
Yeah.
How about Ringside?
Ringside, I would still go to Ringside over any of the others.
Well, that's
I think
your
mostly
neighborhood,
just because it's
too.
local, and where I lived in Northwest, I could throw a rock at Ringside.
Yeah.
So
That's a place that used to be very popular after bars closed. The little bar there, a lot of bar owners would come in there.
yeah, they had one. I mean, they still do have one of the best late night happy hour menus. I don't know if they're doing the steak bites anymore, but you used to be able to go and get the trimmings from the steak bites for I don't know what it was, but it was cheap.
Yeah.
Oh, Kerry Eggers is going to take me back to Ringside.
He is?
Yep. His son's birthday's coming up again, and I am now officially on the list. This will be consecutive years now where I get to go and have dinner with Kerry.
Huh.
Well, I've never asked you that. What would you, if you had one choice, final steak, are you going to go Ringside or El Gaucho?
Don't ask me that. That's too tough. I love the people at Ringside. They've taken such good care of me over the years. Nancy and I had our wedding dinner there.
He's got his own table at Ringside, is what he's trying to tell you.
Well, I do, but that's not where we had we got a little room for that. But yeah, I love Ringside. I do.
That's a good place. They're both great. Well, Dwight just asked you this. What is the hottest place in town right now?
I was just thinking, I haven't been yet, but Yarrawat and Montevilla, I've been hearing a lot of talk about, and I want to check it out.
I haven't been to Montevilla, but I've heard it's fabulous.
Yeah, it's a fun little neighborhood. There's a lot of stuff popping up there.
What do they feature there? Have you heard?
Yeah, it's a little. I mean, I think a lot of the new restaurants and like the trend in Portland in the food industry, which has been really fun, is different ethnic food, and so a lot of different Asian influences, for sure. And Yarrawat, I don't want to say which one. I don't remember, but it's the Asian influence. It's really good.
You have a favorite sushi place?
Can I say what it used to be?
Yes.
It's not. It used to be Bamboo, but I just feel like they've gotten a little bit too corporate or something. It's just not what it used to be. But Bamboo used to be.
Yeah.
Murata, upstairs, like kind of around the corner where the original Bamboo downtown is a great spot. I like that a lot.
Yeah, Bamboo is. Here's why I'm thankful for Bamboo. I used to hate sushi. I thought, well, this is disgusting. But it's why? Because I was eating it wrong.
Yeah.
When I had Bamboo for the first time, getting it fresh, I was like, oh, it was delicious.
Yeah.
So Bamboo turned me into a sushi fan.
It's good. I mean, I've taken so many people that have come into town to Bamboo, and they've all loved it. So I think we get spoiled in here with the quality of food. So
To where we can get picky. What's your favorite roll there?
my favorite roll,
I'd probably go like Friday
the
the 13th.
Green Machine is still the one I always get.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's
The
I will-
avocado.
yes, and I guess you got to like cilantro, but it's incredible.
Oh my God.
I've never not gotten the Green Machine. I think when I've gone to Bamboo.
The Green Machine is amazing. All right, so I'll give you an example of what we do in our business. Like I am obsessed with talk radio, so I listen to different, not just sports, but I listen to talk radio, sports, news, all these different personalities because I'm curious to see how they're delivering or breaking down a topic or doing things, and it's stimulating to me. So for you, like, what's it like for you when you go out in town and you're checking out different restaurants or different places, different bars? Like, are you paying attention to what they're doing or some of the items they have? Like, how does that process work for you? Because you've got, I would imagine you want to see what everyone else is doing, right?
Absolutely. I have this bad habit of having built out. So Bar Diana Negociant built out from the ground up, like all the construction. I think the first thing I do anytime I walk into a restaurant space is look at the ceiling and how they manage like all the like construction and where they hide all the wires and the lighting and everything. It has nothing to do with the food, but I mean, layout is a big layout. as far as experience in a restaurant is always fascinating to me. It like how the bar is set up, how they run efficiencies, and the kitchen where how the employees are grabbing the food, how the bartenders well is set up. So like I think the functionality is what fascinates me, and then just the how like that first impression when you walk in, like how they greet you. Um, yeah, I think that's really cool. Like I mean, again, try not to go to places where the food's bad. So the food's always good, and we have lots of good food around here. So
I thought the bar business was unique because so many people within the business are willing to share, maybe not their utmost secrets, but they were able to share a lot about the business with other people in the business. Yeah, a lot of businesses will never do that. Do you find that they're very open about things?
I think people are very open, yeah, in regards to because it's pretty cutthroat when it comes to margins,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's people are always up for sharing best practices. Nobody wants to see another person be getting ripped off or doing something that's gonna harm them long term. We want I think a healthy industry for bar and restaurants is good for all of us. And you've seen it. When COVID and bars start closing, people start stop going to certain areas, and everybody suffers. So I think it's behooves all business owners in general, like to have a good community of successful businesses makes everybody successful.
Have you had the wings at Pock Pock?
Oh man, I miss that place too. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That was definitely one of my favorite spots. Those wings are hard to beat.
And COVID was tough on a lot of good places I like too.
Yeah. Yeah, Clyde Common. Well, a bunch of the guys, I don't know if I've talked about Clyde Common a couple times, but they opened up, Jeffrey Morgenthaler and Banjo opened up Pacific Standard at the Kex Hotel,
Mm-hmm.
which is a fantastic spot. That's one of my regular go-tos. Some of the best cocktails in town. And, you can go there and get, a great burger, steak frites. It's a really good spot.
I'm guessing that you don't eat a lot of meals at home.
I do not. My kitchen is pretty. I have a nice kitchen. It's pretty embarrassing anytime anybody comes over and opens up my fridge.
Yeah.
Can you cook?
I can cook, yeah, and I enjoy it. I just don't do it very often.
What a great life he's got.
Yeah, I mean,
Why
really.
eat at home when you don't have to?
Well, yeah, exactly. Wouldn't you prefer that if you could afford it and if you were in that business and all?
How many times a week do you eat out, Godfather?
Oh,
4 to 5?
yeah, some weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, some weeks.
It's
Sometimes.
probably more than that too. I like that though. I respect that. Why,
Well,
why eat at home when you don't have to?
well, and I have a wife who's a phenomenal cook, amazing cook.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. Dave Deckard's coming up at 5:20. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. If you want to jump on board, you can. Kevin Goy is in the house, and be sure to check out his different businesses, Bar Diane and Negociant. They're on Northwest 21st and Irving. And if you need some plants, he's got those two. One Green World out there, Southeast 134th and Foster. Dave Deckard at 5:20. Hey, what's up, my friends? Chad here. It's now 5 o'clock. The Trailblazers have 3 more games remaining in the season. The Warriors are going to be in town tomorrow with Steph Curry and company. Tip-off at 7. I'll have Game Day Live from Moda starting at 4:30. Good news for the Bucks. Giannis avoided a serious Achilles injury last night. The Bucks over the Celtics. It's just a calf strain for Giannis. John Calipari has agreed to a 5-year deal with Arkansas. And from the NFL, Josh Allen, a new 5-year deal, $150 million from the Jags. Mariners over the Jays today, 6-1. More of the Rip City Drive with special host Kevin Goy is coming at you right now. All right, we're going to talk basketball with Dave Deckard, our good friend, coming up at 5:20. Kevin Goy, who won the bid to host the Rip City Drive for ALS Northwest, is in studio, and it's great to have him. Let's go out to the phones. We got a couple of people who want to jump on board. Let's go out to Sean, who is in Sandy right now. Sean, welcome to the show, my friend. What's on your mind?
Hey, brother. Thanks for taking my call. I just heard you guys talking about good food and cheap food. And I'm a single guy. I've always grown up eating at the pubs, and the best pubs for eating cheap are on the east side of town, brother. And I know some of the best. I know every night it's got their own dinner specials, and I love it. In fact, that song you just played, "Man on the Silver Mountain," I just played that on the jukebox at the place I just came from. And you won't catch me there at happy hour because there ain't too many happy people there. I'm a day drinker. I like going there for lunchtime, having some good lunch specials. I know where to get a good burger and fries for $6.75. And nobody else in town, you can't go to McDonald's and get a good burger for $6.75. But the Lariat Lounge on Division Street, you can.
Well, that's good, man. I'm glad you got your spots marked out. In fact, Kevin, let me ask you this. When it comes to restaurants, what do you think people are looking for the most? Is it value? Is it service? Is it the experience, the ambiance, food quality, freshness? Like, what are the most important items that you think matter most to your customers?
I think people that are looking for value are looking for value, and that's the driver for them. And that's great. And there's lots of good options in town. I think gentlemen on the phone express the same thing. There's so many good taverns. We're lucky, like even some of the big, what you would call the biggest dive bars here have good burgers and always good beer. So we're lucky in town for that regard. But what I'm looking for is the vibe, the experience, and if I'm looking for food, I want it to be fresh ingredients.
Yeah, that's me. I want fresh, and I care about service. I'd rather pay more for a great experience and great service with fresh ingredients than saving a couple of bucks, because it's fun when you go and sit down at a place and you get a chance to experience the ambiance, the feel. Like we were just talking about Tasty and Sons, like one of my favorite restaurants in town of all time. It was fun to go in and hang out and enjoy the vibe and the food, and you spend an evening or a couple hours at dinner talking with friends and stuff. That was the best.
Yep.
And I know you care about that. And you love service too, Godfather. You'd rather pay for great service and great food than saving a couple of bucks.
Yeah, that's why I often end up going to the same place a lot, because they get to know me and I get better service because I tip well. But also you get to know them.
Yeah.
And once you create that first name experience with people, the service gets way better and it's a lot more fun. You know how it is when we go to El Gaucho, and Ian down there takes care of us, and he's been taking care of us for a while, and that makes a difference. I enjoy that. I enjoy getting taken care of. That's part of the reason you pay more, because you do pay more.
You do. You pay more, but part of that is someone's going to take care of you, which I think is terrific. What's your favorite breakfast place in town right now?
Breakfast is always a tough one for me. I don't know if I have a favorite breakfast spot right now. Put me on the...
Because you're busy working all the time.
Yeah, that's what it is.
What's your favorite pizza spot?
Pizza, Lovely's 50/50.
Okay.
And I had to shout out Scotty's, who's my neighbor at Bar Diane. Scotty's is incredible, but Lovely's 50/50 as far as unique gourmet pizza is incredible.
Where is that?
That's on Mississippi.
Oh.
Mississippi's got some great spots out there. I go out there a lot for Porque No. North Portland it's littered with great places all over the place.
Yeah, you can do a lot of good pub crawls on Mississippi.
I've seen that in action before.
Yeah. I maybe partook in a couple.
Let's go back out to the phones. Rachel's out in Hillsborough wants to chime in. Rachel, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. You want to talk some food? What's on your mind?
Ted. I got to let you know, you were talking about, I like Aviance, and I like Aviance quality and quantity. And Portland, going out, I took my daughter for her special birthday, and we went to Marrakesh. And I wanted her to experience the Aviance. I had already been there numerous times, but Marrakesh, you sit on the floor, there's belly dancers, but it's a 5-course. But it's absolute, and it's not that expensive. And now Hillsborough and Beaverton are starting to become the new Portland. A lot of restaurants are starting to come out our way, where, they're just getting away from the Portland area. And we have like Swagat's Indian food. You talk about Aviance and out of this world food. I take people there when they come out of town, and they say they've never had better Indian food. And I'm into trying new things and that kind of stuff. So I just want to let you know that.
Oh, we appreciate that, Rachel. Thank you. Have you noticed that too with different places outside of town, Beaverton, or different spots in the city or around the city that are popping up good local spots?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Some of it is the city permitting stuff, and it's
how much of a pain is it to deal with the city?
It's not great. I might still need them to do things for me, so I'm not going to say much more.
Yeah, there's challenges involved, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But probably easier if you get farther outside the city, right?
Yeah, I think other places that don't have as much as Portland does, they're definitely throwing a bone to try to get businesses out there, and I think it's a great opportunity for restaurants. One of the ways to actually make a little bit of money in the bar and restaurant industry is to open up a couple locations and get a little bit of scale.
I'll tell you one thing. I'm not sitting on the floor.
That's not a Godfather move.
I'm not sitting on the floor. No.
I've done that at, I forgot the name of the place. I went to a Moroccan restaurant.
Right. Yeah.
That was Marrakesh, that maybe on 21st.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did the same thing. You sit on the floor, and I don't like sitting on the floor. I used to hate it when our teachers would make us sit like Indian style with
yes.
Can I still say that?
No,
today?
Crisscross
No,
applesauce.
No, strike that.
That's what they said back in school.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, it was painful. I hated it.
And to eat on the floor? No, thanks. No.
I'm with you.
Even if you're trying to experience a different culture.
No, no.
See,
just an easy no.
I went to Israel for a couple of weeks, and what I enjoyed there was the same thing. Like a lot of their restaurants or places where you eat would be like a buffet style, but it was amazing to me. Like I'm into produce now. The older I get, I like vegetables, fruits, and a lot of these different produces. But the amount of vegetables and fruits and different access to different things I'd never seen before was mind-blowingly awesome.
Yeah.
At all meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Their ability to use actual, spice, not like hot spice, but spice.
Yeah.
In Israel and the Middle East and Indian culture is absolutely incredible. Like
So-
it's really fun.
They've got it figured out
Yeah.
where other places on the planet don't.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's elite. I love it. Let's go back out to the phones. Eastside Mark wants to chime in. Eastside Mark, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chad. How are you doing?
Fabulous.
And Godfather, sir.
Yeah.
And Kevin, that is how you doing, my friend, guest
Good, man.
host. So, yeah, well, that's called respect because I'll tell you what, if anyone's earned it, it's Chad and the Godfather.
Thank you.
So,
Thanks. Mark.
yeah. Anyways, he'll tell you some crazy stories about me. I, drive rideshare, Uber, stuff like that. And yeah, Chad Aloud, he's got some stories about me chasing the armored car, or actually wanted to live in Escada when he got his cord cut. That was a brutal one. But I had to ask you, no one's brought this up, Kevin. Has anyone ever told you you sound like?
Hey, hold on. We're not going to let this is Kevin's show today, Mark. So we're not going to let we're not letting people disrespect the host. It's Kevin's show. All right. Sorry about that.
You could tell where he was going, huh?
Yeah, I knew where he was going to go with that. But here's the deal. He did share a story once where he does drive rideshare.
Yeah.
And this is crazy, but he's over there in, I want to say it was over there close to Motor Center, somewhere in that area. But he got sideswiped by an armored car. And I don't think the armored car knew what was going on. So he's literally like, hey, the guy just kept driving. So Mark starts chasing the armored car down the street, like trying to honk and get
Sounds
him
like
to
a
pull
movie.
over. And of course, like he wants the guy to know so he can get the insurance coverage to protect his vehicle. But of course, when you're trying to pull over an armored car, there's only one thing they could think. It's like, this guy's trying to pull us over. He's
Yeah.
trying to hold us up.
Yeah, that'll
That's a
get you into
no-win.
trouble.
That's crazy right there. Yeah, it's Kevin's show. We can't let anyone disrespect the host, right, Godfather?
No, not happening.
That's not gonna
Good
fly.
call. Good call, Chad.
I'm fascinated by you. This guy knows everything about everything. How many people, who was it? Tommy Troy last week from the Hops.
Yeah.
Stanford grad, like 22 years old, making me go home and rethink my life. And here's Kevin, who's accomplishing all sorts of things. And
He's
you're-
running
younger,
three
Kevin's younger
businesses.
than I am.
He's running 3 businesses at the same time. We can barely get in here every day.
And they're not even close to remotely the same. It's like, yeah, I got,
No.
got a little cheese and wine here. I got this bar.
Yeah.
Got a nursery.
I'm shipping plants all over the world.
Serious question. What else is what's your next interest? What else are you looking to get into? Because I know you've been thinking about something because entrepreneurs have that spirit. What's next?
Well, I think dabbling in the wine industry a little bit deeper, is probably the next thing. I have a couple friends. We planted a vineyard this last
There we
May,
go.
so I want to see how that world works. And then, I mean, I want to figure out a way to bring all the businesses together in a way. And I think the fact that we sell edible plants and fruits and all kinds of different berries and whatnot, that fact that I have a restaurant and a bar, like I think being able to bring people together like in a space where they get to experience, what a food forest looks like, what biodiversity looks like, growing your own food, and then being able to, like use fruit from the orchard and, veggies from the garden
Now you're
and
on
bring
to
people
something.
together. I think it'd be really fun.
So in other words, you eventually could have a place where you got some land, you're growing grapes, you've got your garden, and you've got a place where people can come and meet and enjoy all the products all at once.
Exactly.
And what is better than a restaurant that has like their own garden where they go out to pluck vegetables from their own garden that they're growing themselves to bring to the table for you?
It's a pretty sweet deal. We've got a long way to go to get there, but we're working on it.
It seems like the winery thing. I mean, that one, if you hit it right, that could be huge, right?
It's a big investment. Like, yeah, there's wine, there's the winery, and then there's like wine growing, which are
Uh-huh.
a little bit different. Like,
How's that different?
Well, the winery is the facilities, and the like capital investment to start a winery is pretty high. Where planting a vineyard is still pretty capital, but it's not nearly as much. You're not buying the equipment. You're just you're farming the land, and you're just happen to be growing grapes. And so there's two different sides to that. I think you can make a lot more money having the facilities for sure, but you can grow the wine and like slowly step your way up.
What are some of the wineries in the area that you're impressed by that you've had a chance to check out?
My buddy Jared at Grape Inc. Is making some incredible wine, and he's one of the few guys that's actually growing his own grapes. He's got a vineyard that is on his own property and is helping manage other actual vineyards, and then taking those grapes and making wine out of it too. So, Grape Inc. And they're out in North Plains. He's got one of the highest, like northernmost, highest elevation vineyards in the state. In love with this stuff right now.
How do you think he's doing on day one of being a host of the show, Godfather?
I'm a little concerned.
Good thing he doesn't have enough time to come in and do the show
No,
every day.
I think I better not get sick for a while. I better be here every day, or I'm going to get Wally pipped.
Wally pipped, yes.
Yes.
Have you got any friends listening? What's their reaction on your? They're probably texting you. What are they saying?
I've been hiding my phone. I haven't looked at it yet.
Okay.
We'll see. I'm sure I'll get plenty of razz when I get out of here.
In my experience, most of the messages people have for me are not positive.
Yeah, right.
Hey,
Everybody can do it better.
Yeah, you're an
Right.
idiot. Shut up, please. That
Yeah.
take is terrible. All right, we'll come back. Dave Decker talking Blazers basketball. What's next? That's the big question. We'll deal with it next here on the Rip City Drive. All right, Rip City Drive. We've got Kevin Goy, who won the bid to host the Rip City Drive, so he's in here with us today with the Godfather and myself. And joining us right now is a good friend and the man behind BlazersEdge.com. It is Dave Deckard, who's back on the show. Now, Dave, I want to start with this. I don't know how much you want to talk about this, but you had a health scare, and so I just want you to give us an update on how you're doing because I'm glad that you're well, my friend, and it is awesome to have you back on the show.
Well, thank you. I'm doing okay. My voice is a little weak, and my stamina isn't great, but otherwise I'm okay. I had a fairly severe heart attack, as it turned out. Maybe it's the Blazers causing it. Who knows? But I'm otherwise young. I exercise. I'm fit. My diet's pretty good. It just came out of the blue, but my kids were home, and they saved me and got me into an ambulance. That was about 6 weeks ago. Been recovering ever since, and I'm doing all right. The physicians and everybody says it's a miracle that I'm here. So, I'm fairly glad.
Well, it is a miracle, and I'm awesome. And I read your story that you wrote about it because people were concerned, but you made the point, like, if your kids would not have been with you at the time and they knew how to handle the situation and did a heck of a job, if they weren't there, you would have died.
Yeah, I did die. I was dead on the operating table. Deader than Portland's playoff hopes. And,
You can't resist. You can't resist,
Yeah.
Dave.
Well, it's great to have you
Dave,
back on because, Dave, I love you and I consider you a good friend. So it means a lot to me that you're well. I consider it a blessing. So this is awesome to have you back on. It's never been better to hear your voice, my friend. And I want to start with this. You just wrote a piece that was really good. Someone asked you basically who was to blame for the Trailblazers' current state of affairs. And you took it in a different direction where you're like, hey, let's not worry about pointing the finger, but let's focus on what's next. So can you kind of dive into what is next or kind of how to set that up in your mind?
Sure. I mean, look, the Blazers are in a time of transition here, and they've gone through this before, and we pointed out some of them. Obviously, after the Walton Championship years in the early 80s, they made a shift. Then they grew into the Drexler years, and after they traded Clyde, they made a shift. There was a huge shift in the Jailblazers era right around 2005 when they divested of the old team, Rasheed Wallace and et cetera, and moved into the Brandon Roy era. Then another shift into the Damian Lillard era. And then when LaMarcus Aldridge became a free agent and went to San Antonio, that was another one. So really there have been 5 major ones. But not all of them have been the same. In 4 of those 5, they left assets and a legacy that went into the next time period. For instance, the Walton years, even after they traded Bill, they still had that established pattern of excellence. And so there were certain expectations, and players played up to it. And that served to transition into Clyde's teams. Only once have they had a hard reset where they basically tore it down to the studs and had to rebuild completely. And that was in 2005 when Steve Patterson, John Nash just took a flamethrower to the team and had to rebuild. Fortunately, they got Brandon Roy, LaMarcus Aldridge. So that was quick. Greg Oden the year after. But we forget, because of those great draft picks, how precarious and how tragic that situation was. Well, they are in a reset right now, and this is closer to that 2005 reset than it is to any of the others. They basically carried over no players of talent. They basically carried over no legacy and no culture. They had wrapped up everything into Damian Lillard, put all their eggs into that basket, cruised by for the better part of a decade saying, hey, we've got Dame, aren't we great? And then when he was gone, there was nothing left. So Joe Cronin and company have had to spend the last 2 years tearing everything down to the studs again, and we're just seeing them start to rebuild now. And my argument was that this is the first year, and Scoot Henderson drafting him was the first moment where we can start to really judge them and hold them accountable for what's gone on. Up to now, it's been environment, and it's been a decade of coming of momentum that was unavoidable. Right now, from this point on, we can hold them accountable for what is happening and whether they are growing or not.
All right, Dave, let me talk about tearing it down to the studs. Do you think with the deals they made to divest themselves of the talent that was on hand, do you think those things came out as well as they should, or do you think they could have gotten more?
It depends on how you look at it. On paper, they did all right. I mean, Jeremy Grant obviously was a transition acquisition. He's not quite what you're talking about, but they did pretty well there. They've gotten some nice draft picks. Some of them won't come due till 2028 and 2029, but I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be very good in those years. So I think they've done well there. And they've kept their own and restocked their own draft picks. That was also a major priority. They've done all right. So on paper, this looks pretty good. But the problem is paper doesn't play. And right now, this year, it's been pretty miserable because Scoot Henderson was not NBA ready and because they ended up with some what you'd call decent parts that didn't fit together and a whole bunch of young players that they're speculating on. And when you put that product on the court, it doesn't look very good. I don't think we're going to be able to answer your question definitively for another couple years. I think maybe they could have done some better parts for right now that looked marginally better, but it's hard for me to envision them having put together a playoff team based on what they were trading away, let alone a team that was going to grow into the future. So I'm of the opinion that actually they did okay for what they were dealt and what they were trying to build toward, but we're going to have to suffer through a couple years of not looking okay before we can figure out how good they actually did.
This is Kevin here. Kind of along those same lines, I've been hearing a lot of people when I'm talking about the Blazers, a lot of people are asking me what I think about the coach Billups, and a lot of people not thinking that he's the right fit. Like, because of what you were just saying and because of all the injuries, do we even know that? I mean, when can we say this is not the right guy?
First of all, Kevin, you got a radio voice, and I would kill for it, so very good. Second of all, look, we didn't know anything about Coach Billups when he was hired on a 5-year contract 4 years ago. That question has not been answered. The question is why. One could say he hasn't been given the right cards to play, and that is somewhat true. He got a couple years of Damian Lillard, but not much building around him. He didn't have time to fit people together to implement a real solid system, let alone to build a legacy. Fair enough. But I don't know about you, but I don't know much about him at all from
Same.
what I've seen. I haven't seen a coherent system. I haven't seen a lot of execution. I've seen a lot of pick and rolls. I've seen a lot of young guys trying on defense but not connecting together. It looks like an inexperienced coach with an inexperienced team. The question is, how long? We're 4 years in now. How long does he get to prove himself before you say, you know what, this is not the G League. This is not learning time. This is a professional NBA team that deserves a professional NBA coach. And Coach Billups may be one now. He may be one day. But either way, it appears that he's over his head with the cards he's been dealt and cannot play them into a coherent hand, which may argue that it is time to replace him for someone who can.
Dave, I'm curious what you think. I look at what's ahead and say they have so many critical decisions ahead. They have tradable players on their team. They have opportunity. They'll have opportunities to trade them for solid young players or picks. I have the feeling they're looking more now for young players who could be a part of the future than necessarily the draft picks. Do you feel like this is a time where it's got to be pretty mistake-free? They can't have too many missteps from now on.
Yeah, you said a couple interesting things there. Number one is it is a critical time, but it's not necessarily critical, I think, that they get players who can perform right now. Nothing they do in the next 2 years probably is going to make them good, short of hitting gold in the lottery and in the draft.
Of course,
they don't have a number one option, and that's really what they need. Until they get that number one option, they need to spin their talent into exactly what you've said, young players especially, probably some draft picks if they can't get young players, but they've got to spin their veterans into players who will be active when they do hit gold or when they do get their franchise keystone. So I do believe that it is critical to make moves in the next couple years. I do not believe that any move they make in the next couple of years is going to be the critical one that turns them around. I know that sounds kind of paradoxical, but they have to keep their building going and their hopes alive while they make the one move, while at the same time waiting patiently for that one move opportunity to come along. They cannot stand pat, but they can't go, well, we're going to get some B-plus level veterans and this is all going to work out, because clearly it is not.
We're talking with Dave Deckard, the man behind BlazersEdge.com here on the Rip City Drive. What were your impressions on the play of Scoot Henderson last night? 19 points, 15 assists, but he did have the 8 turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, Scoot needs some time. I exhaled about Scoot about a third of the way through the season and said, okay, he's not ready to be an NBA starter. He's going to make plenty of mistakes. What can he do well? Well, he can drive. He can pull up. His passing has gotten better. I think his defense has gotten marginally better. And I think he's progressing. Right now, that's what you ask. His points to me are immaterial because they're coming in games that don't matter with teammates who don't score. This is showing almost nothing about what he would be in a fully functional lineup. What I want to see is the decision-making and the skill set that will prove that he can earn a place on the floor. He's not there yet, but he is developing some things. That's all you can ask right now. I think he needs a new system, a fresh start, revamped expectations. Hopefully he will get all 3 of those next year. We will see a little bit more who he is. I am shocked that he is this not ready, but I am also not despairing that he will eventually get ready and be able to develop, simply because he has the physical gifts. He seems to have a decent approach. And like I said, there has been progress.
Dave, do you think there's anybody on this roster right now that's untouchable?
No. I mean, there can't be. And that's kind of what I was getting at with your last question.
Yeah.
Like, you got to make moves, and nobody's sacrosanct. I mean, the closest guy you would say, well, how about Anthony Simons? Because he's only 25, and he could be a star. But you know what? He's a 20-point scorer now in a league where 25 is the new standard for stardom. And he's not great at defense. And you look at him like, well, is he really a starter? Or is he a really dynamic 6-man scorer? And if he is a starter, can he really be a star or your linchpin for your team? I'm not sure about that. And he's the closest guy you get for going age-wise and talent-wise. This guy is the one you want to keep. That's as close as you get, and he's not real sure. Jeremy Grant, I think, is solid and wonderful, but he's too old. DeAndre Ayton is the right age, but who knows what you've got in him, and he hasn't seemed really steady. You know, and south of that, nobody is even close to the discussion of being untouchable. So, no, you trade anything and anyone in order to make that next step forward, as long as you believe that that next step is a right one.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, we appreciate the time. I'm just so glad to hear that you're on the mend, and we wish you the best in your continued recovery. And I'm just thankful that you're here, and what a blessing it is to have you alive and being able to talk basketball with us, buddy.
Yeah, there's always a new season, just like the draft is coming in late June. There's new hope always. I'm living proof, and hopefully the Blazers will be able to parlay that into a more hopeful season next year.
You got it, buddy. We'll talk soon, man. Take care, Dave.
All right. Thanks, guys. There
you go. Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com. Can you imagine that? If he didn't have his kids with him on the day he went down, he'd be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's back. It's awesome.
Wow. Heart stopped on the table. Heart stopped on the operating table.
Where are you at with the Trailblazers right now, Kevin?
I'm just hoping for the future. I mean, I still think the injuries, it's hard to evaluate a team that's just constantly hurt. And I guess some of it is also questioning if we were actually a team that was looking to make a playoff push, would some of these guys be playing? So I'm not quite sure. It just feels a little bit directionless right now. And
Let's go out to the phones. Paul in West Lynn's got a question for Kevin. I like that. Let's go to Paul right now. Paul, what's up? What do you got for Kevin, buddy?
Oh, I got to utilize Kevin. I'm jealous. I'm glad you're a co-host, and Kevin, you're doing a great job.
thank you.
As a business owner, I have a hypothetical business slash basketball question for you. Now, just hear me out. Let's say 3 years ago, for your fine restaurant, you serve meal plans, and for let's say $2,500, people can buy their pass, and then twice or three times a month they can come in and get a meal. And then let's say around January, the meals start declining; they're not as good of quality, and your chef gets hurt, and then the sous chefs, they somehow get injured or get ill. So then you're coming in with people off the streets. We say, please, and you're also going to sell $13 beers. Now, the next year, you ask these same customers to do the same thing. We'll increase the prices a little bit, but you're promising a better product. But come January, February, the menu just isn't as good a quality. And darn it, the chef and the sous chefs are hurt and ill again, mysteriously. You say, let's do it one more time. Oh, and the beers are now $14 each. Now it's the third year, and we're going to do it again and ask people for their money. Please keep coming. But the meal quality is just not as good, and these darn chefs keep getting hurt and have mysterious illnesses. Oh, and the beers are $15 now each. How would you make right by your patrons? Do you think you should offer them maybe a free beer? Please stay with us. I'm just curious as a business owner how you should handle that situation.
I'm sensing some parallels here to the fan experience at the stadium.
I was going to say, hey, what are you talking about? That could never happen.
No, I mean, it's a good question. And I think the one thing I'm amazed at, even just going to the games late in the season, and seeing the stands packed with fans. And then I think to your point, I order a gin and tonic and they don't have limes because limes are too expensive.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating. But hopefully they have a plan. Ownership owes the fans an experience, and a big part of that experience is a winning team.
Yeah, you've been
So I
covering
feel you.
You've been covering sports a long time, Godfather. What is the philosophy when it comes to, fan experience, cost of tickets versus the production of the team on the field or on the court?
Well, I mean, it's always been the same. You buy your ticket, you take your chances. It's like this is what sports are all about, and you always have the right not to buy. And my heart goes out to the people selling the tickets and the front office who's working hard on behalf of the team. And I don't know what you do. I think if you were in that business, in the restaurant business, and this happened to you, you'd say, well, maybe I'm in the wrong business. Maybe I should sell it to somebody who knows what they're doing.
I mean, I was always taught when it comes to tickets, you don't sell based on the product on the court or the field because that can change. It can fluctuate, right? So
Yeah.
you're selling the experience of
Yes.
going to an event, being with friends or family or business partners or whatever, right?
Mhm. Entertainment.
Entertainment. And I mean, it'd be easier for all those people, right? If the team won every single year, no problem.
Yeah.
It'd be much easier.
Yeah. It's
All
the
right,
best promotion in the world.
All right, Kevin Goy is in studio. I'm getting some love on my phone for him, which is nice. We appreciate your calls. We'll come back and hand out some high fives here in the Rip City Drive. All right, high five time. We'll start with you, Kevin. It's your show today. So, who would you like to hand a high five out to? You can go to anyone across any part of the world that you want.
You know, if I didn't give this high five to the nursery crew and my bar market crew who are all holding down the fort while I'm playing co-host at a radio show, I'd be in big trouble. So high five to the nursery.
That sounds good. Shacker, you got a high five you want to hand out? Anyone come to mind for you? Maybe Dino, your dog, who's been a good puppy today? Huh. See,
I'm here.
Oh, there you go. What's
no,
up, buddy?
no, the dog gets a high five every day.
Dino!
I want to give a high five to David Deckard
Yeah.
because he said this on your show.
I was dead on the operating table, deader than Portland's playoff hopes.
So I don't want to give him a high five for dying, for just making light of it and making it good funny.
You're
on
right.
Your show.
If you can overcome death and come back on the radio, you deserve a high five.
He couldn't resist comparing it to the Blazers.
Hey, that's what he does.
Yeah. My high five goes to Kevin Gooey. Kevin Goy, I mean.
Yes. Yeah. And that's my high five, too.
Yeah. Great job.
No, seriously, Kevin, it's been a blast having you in studio, man.
You're better than we deserved, I'll tell you that.
Where is this message here? Great guest, great expert, great interview, David Tualton. There you go. Nice work. You know, it's been great. You never know what you're going to expect. A lot of times I've had people who are great talkers, and then they get behind a microphone and the red light comes on, and all of a sudden they're not great talkers anymore. But for Kevin, no problem whatsoever. From the opening segment all the way till the end, just rock steady,
Spot
Godfather.
on. Yep.
Making me blush.
Yep. What's going to be cool is when he comes in 10 years from now and we get a chance to talk about all the other businesses he's gotten involved in. What can stop a guy that goes from bar to restaurant to nursery? He can do anything.
I think he ought to become our manager, kind of handle our careers for us.
That may not
He's
be
got a
bad
pretty
idea.
good idea about what makes money and what's a good career.
All right, I want to play this clip for you. It's not too often I can hear something from LeBron James and be like, wow, that's pretty good. Take a listen to LeBron James talking with J.J. Redick, talking about player movement, ball movement when discussing the Warriors who beat the Lakers last night at Crypto.com Arena.
We were talking about the not all spacing is creating equal. You remember in your game the other night against the Warriors, Steph's over in the corner. Gary Payton is in the left wing, and Steph is pointing at him, right? Ball's all the way on the right side, all the way in the right corner. Steph is pointing at him, pointing at Gary Payton. Because his man is all the way in the middle of the paint. So he knows if you swing it to Gary Payton, the DHO.
Okay, I can't play it anymore because I just remembered there might be.
Oh,
I haven't cleaned it up yet. So
yeah.
But it's pretty cool to hear them talk about what makes the Warriors so unique with their player movement and their ball movement. And what LeBron said is that you're always taught to watch the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he goes, you can't do that with the Warriors. He goes, you have to watch Steph because he'll lure you into thinking he's going to go down low, and you lose sight of him, and then boom, he pops back out for a three, wide open.
Yeah. So, for once in the last 15 years, LeBron said something worthy of playing on this show.
He did. But, he said that no one in the game is better at moving without the basketball than Steph.
Yeah, for sure.
Why don't more players do it?
They don't have the energy for it. Or their teammates don't reward them for all that movement. That happens.
Why am I busting my rump if I'm not going to get the ball when I get open?
Yeah.
What do you think about the Warriors? You like watching Steph play?
It's a lot of fun. I think the small ball that they play, it's old school, and I appreciate it.
What would you think about a Warriors-Nuggets first-round matchup? How wild would that be?
I'd like to see it. Yeah.
I mean, the Warriors are dangerous just because I think last night they hit like 23 threes.
Yeah.
Steph was 6 of 6. Even Draymond was 5 of 7 from downtown.
Yeah. If they can win any game because of their three-point accuracy. They can beat anybody. It's just a question whether they can win 4 games out of 7.
Yeah, against Denver, that's
a tall
do a
order.
lot of threes. Yeah. There's no threat to Denver, right? Aside from injury.
I don't see it. No.
What do you think about Oklahoma City in the postseason?
Well, they need to get off well, and they need Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to be healthy, which he hasn't been, but now it appears he's back healthy. if they get off well in the first round, I mean, they're as talented as anybody. When you look at their overall team, man, they have a good team. They're fighting for the top spot in the West. I mean, who would have thought that at the beginning of the year?
Tonight, Minnesota, Denver.
Yeah.
And Denver's going to clobber them. That'd be my guess tonight.
But OKC's right behind those two teams.
Yeah. Minnesota, Denver tonight, the rematch with the Clippers and Suns. I'd be very disappointed if you don't see the Suns come out with maybe a little more purpose in the first quarter.
Yeah, you think?
Would you expect that tonight, maybe?
I would hope for that, yeah.
So, Kevin, I'm curious for someone that's never done radio before, like what did you learn about being in a studio today that maybe you didn't expect?
I didn't know what to expect, honestly, but it's a lot cozier, and you guys are very welcoming, so I appreciate that. I was worried I was going to be all nervous, but you guys made me feel at home, so I thank you.
Yeah, because you're like me. You like to know how things are made or how the story behind the story.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, it is fun to see behind the scenes for sure. I always love that.
I was thinking there's a lot of times I don't like to hear how things are made because I don't want to know. It's similar to you every once in a while when you said yesterday, that's information I didn't need to know.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss.
Yes.
But it started with Mr. Rogers when I remember he went to the Crayola Crown Factory once. And I saw how they made crayons. And I was like, that's pretty amazing. And then I always liked that show. I think it was Unwrapped with Mark Summers, who was the host of Double Dare. The guy's super cool. He would, I was telling you during a break, Kevin, like knowing how a blow pop is made, I was like, wow, that's amazing to me.
Yeah, I remember we were in school and we took a field trip to a slaughterhouse. That was a place.
No, you did not.
We did, I swear.
No way.
Yeah, we did. It was out by Portland Meadows, out in that area, out there. Yeah.
Were kids crying? What grade was this?
All I can tell you is that, man, did it smell bad. Holy Toledo, it smelled bad.
You took a field trip to a freaking slaughterhouse?
Whole class. Yep.
That has got to be a giant leg pull right there.
No.
Isaac would look you in the eye and be like, that's a leg pull.
No. Isaac would love it. He would enjoy going to one. We watched them. They hang the beef up on these big hooks.
Yeah, like Rocky style.
And just...
You ever been to a slaughterhouse, Kevin?
I have not. I have no desire
Hey,
to go
he's
to a
in the
slaughterhouse.
restaurant business. You got to get out there, man.
I mean, I've been to farms. I've seen animals be slaughtered, but I don't want to go to a slaughterhouse.
The guys are wearing a lot of protective gear.
Jeez, you went to a slaughterhouse. Yeah. The parents signed the permission slip on that one.
You're envious, aren't you?
Good
we
gracious.
couldn't wait to go. You should have seen the excitement. We were excited about it.
Hey, kids, today we're going to head out and watch a live execution.
Yes.
Unbelievable. All right, big thanks to Kevin Goy, Michael Shacker, Dave Deckard, The Godfather. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
That was super fun.